Have you started that relationship?
No.
Well, why?
He's married, for number one.
Your Honor, Brooklyn got my last name.
I'm sitting up here trying to figure out what's
She all over the place.
back.
She
a whole wife.
Yeah. Oh, why hold him back? You bugging.
She sent a text message, a picture text message, which was a pregnancy test. I asked her what's the pregnancy test for. She tells me that it wasn't for me. It was for the other guy she thought was the father of her child.
Wait, what?
Your Honor, I
skeptical
told him
about
that
it.
it was someone else. It was a mistake on sending it to him. So once he continued to deny it.
Judge Lake introduces Muhammad versus Walton, where Mr. Muhammad insists he's Brooklyn's dad, but Ms. Walton says nope. She admits she was seeing another guy almost daily during conception. This case isn't just messy, it's next-level chaos.
Mr. Muhammad, you are here to prove that you are the father of the defendant's 2-year-old daughter, Brooklyn. You claim the only reason she is denying paternity is because she wants to be in a relationship with the other man. And Ms. Walton, you say you were secretly cheating on Mr. Muhammad and had sex with the other man almost every day of the month?
Mr. Muhammad is convinced Brooklyn is his. Same face, same eyes, same vibe. He refuses to let another man raise his child. But before he can finish his proud speech, Ms. Walton is about to drop a major bomb.
I would never let another man raise my child. I was always raised to do the right thing, always raised to be a stand-up gentleman. You can look at Brooklyn now, see my face features, everything. I'm here today to prove today that I am the father.
And you say it's not his baby, Ms. Walton?
Yes, ma'am. I say that because during my conception day, I was having more sexual intercourse with the other guy than Mr. Muhammad.
Ms. Walton claims Mr. Muhammad was cheating first, so she did too, only way more. The audience gasps when she confesses she was seeing another man the entire time. But wait, Mr. Muhammad is about to lose it over one insane detail.
During that time, while he was having his affair, I was having my affair also. Well, baby, I wouldn't say we were together.
I wasn't having no affair. We was together. She told me that this gentleman was her cousin. I didn't think nothing of it.
It's not true, Your Honor. He's always known this guy.
I know.
Who was.
That's the other man that she wanted to be with.
Ms. Walton met the other guy at hotels while Mr. Muhammad thought she was at work. He calls her out saying, "You wasn't at no job." She fires back that she worked 2 jobs while pregnant and got no help. But things are about to get crazier.
Well, what happens is we was sneaking off to the hotel. I told him I was at work because during my pregnancy I was working 2 jobs. Why Mr. Muhammad wouldn't even help me with anything.
She's cheating, Your Honor. While she thinks she at work, she's cheating.
Were you still intimate with Mr. Muhammad during that time as well?
Yes, I was.
All right.
Wow.
So you were sleeping with them both?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Muhammad checked her phone while she was asleep. Bad for her. Jackpot for him. He found texts and pictures confirming the affair. Worst part? The messages revealed she was pregnant.
What happened was I came home, she sleep, looked at her phone, I started seeing a full-fledged text message about having sex, all that stuff. Y'all having a full relationship.
So you had
I had no idea about this man. She told me in the beginning that was a cousin. I ain't thinking nothing of it. I'm thinking it's a family member. You stop having sex with me.
Ms. Walton told the other guy about the baby before she told Mr. Muhammad. Imagine finding out your child exists through text to another man. He didn't even hear it from her. His family told him first.
Took the cell phone and he had confronted me about the text message and he had asked me, well, whose child is it? And I told him, I said, it's his child. It's not yours.
My recollection of it is that I'm thinking that the baby's mom. We already had one child together. Like I said, we was in a relationship, and I'm thinking I'm the only one that she sees from. I did not know nothing about the gentleman. If we look at Brooklyn and look at me, we look alike, similar alike. Everything is alike.
Mr. Muhammad swears Brooklyn was conceived February 21st at his mom's house, down to the sink. Ms. Walton says it was February 5th at her place. Problem? She was with both men that whole week.
The date was February 21st in my mama's house, in the bathroom. She was in the mood. She go to the bathroom. I go to the bathroom after. That's the date that we have Brooklyn.
Do you remember this day, Ms.
On
Walton?
the sink.
Your Honor, I remember us having sex at my house, not his mother's house.
That you conceived your daughter, Brooklyn, in your mother's bathroom on the sink.
Yes, ma'am.
She straight up admits she hopes Brooklyn belongs to the other guy because he'd be a better dad. Mr. Muhammad is shook. Turns out the other man wanted a paternity test too.
She want this baby to be his. But like I said, I know the baby. First time I held Brooklyn, I didn't get to see Brooklyn until she was 6 months old. First time I held Brooklyn, I already know that she's mine. It's certain characteristics that's mine.
That's the day she was born.
I didn't even get to see that. I didn't get to see none of that.
And did you tell this other guy I'm pregnant?
Yes, I told the other guy I was pregnant.
Never told me nothing.
But you didn't tell Mr. Muhammad?
No.
I told Mr. Muhammad after I confirmed it with the doctor.
Mr. Muhammad Muhammad swears Brooklyn looks just like him. He even pulls out pictures for proof. Judge Lake shuts it down, saying, "We don't do DNA tests with our eyes." But the biggest shocker is coming.
Brooklyn looks like my oldest daughter. If you look at them two girls right there, they look that's alike. That's my first daughter right there. She for my babies right there. Look at me and look at them. No, my babies right there.
Yeah, they may be your babies, but I'm taking care of them.
Oh, I take care of them too.
No,
I take
you do
care
not.
of them too. I ask you all the time.
Listen.
Plot twist, the other guy is married. The courtroom loses it. Judge Lake sarcastically points out why he isn't stepping up. Mr. Muhammad is completely done.
Have you started that relationship?
No.
Well, why?
He's married, for number one.
Your Honor, Brooklyn got my last name.
I'm sitting up here trying to figure out what's
She all over the
holding
place.
him back.
Huh? She
a whole wife.
Oh, why holding him back? You bugging.
Judge Lake opens the results.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Muhammad, you are the father.
Yes. I know what I'm talking about, baby. I know what I'm talking about.
This case is a mess from the start. Ms. Palmer is furious because Mr. Ross denies being the father of her baby, Jace. Mr. Ross insists she's after his money, but the relationship history is even wilder.
You opened today's case because the defendant is denying he fathered your 3-month-old son. You recently met your own father for the first time and refused to have your son grow up without his father like you did. You say pinning her child on you because you have money, and you are in court to prove once and for all you are not her child's father.
They went from strangers to lovers in 24 hours. Mr. Ross claims they always used protection, but Ms. Palmer calls that a lie. He wanted a real relationship, but she wasn't ready, making the baby timeline extra messy.
Your Honor, first of all, we used condoms every time we had sex.
We never use condoms, Your Honor.
He's denying your child, as we can see, Ms. Palmer. You're raising the child alone.
Yes, Your Honor.
With absolutely no help from Mr. Ross. Jace is 3 months old. You're denying that this baby is yours, Mr. Ross, because you say you use condoms throughout the relationship.
Yes, Your Honor.
What was the nature of this relationship?
We were just friends with benefits, Your Honor.
The math isn't adding up. Ms. Palmer says she only slept with Mr. Ross when she conceived, but she met him the day before. She's sure he's the dad, but his next revelation changes everything.
I met someone before him, and then it's just like when I started talking to him, it was just only him. But the month before,
Your Honor,
it
she
was
told me
someone
she was
else.
talking to somebody.
I was talking to someone the previous month, yes. But the month that I met him, no.
Did you find out you were pregnant?
And I was telling my friend, I said, something's not right. And she told me to come over, and we're gonna do a pregnancy test. We went to the store, we purchased 4 pregnancy tests. I took 2, both of them came back positive.
Ms. Palmer accidentally sent her positive pregnancy test to Mr. Ross, then said, "Oops, not for you." She admits she thought another man was the father first. Mr. Ross sees this as proof she was guessing who the dad was.
She sent a picture text message, which was a pregnancy test. I asked her what's the pregnancy test for. She tells me that it wasn't for me. It was for the other guy she thought was the father of her child.
Wait, what?
Your Honor, I
skeptical
told him
about
that
it.
it was someone else.
Accidentally send this pregnancy test to Mr. Ross, but you thought you were sending it to the other guy?
It was a mistake on sending it to him. So once he continued to deny it,
She already tested another guy. He wasn't the dad. As soon as she got the result, she asked Mr. Ross to take a test, which he refused. Despite denying the baby, he was still texting her about being a father.
in the beginning of August, me and the alleged father, we got a DNA test. And the results came back. I immediately contacted Mr. Ross.
And what did you say when you reached out to him?
I asked him to do a DNA test for me. Told me that he was not the father, and then it's just like got to the point where he wanted to, he started claiming my son, sending pictures, everything. Made the statement of he would help me buy a car seat.
Ms. Palmer swears Jace looks like Mr. Ross. He argues the baby doesn't have good hair, but Judge Lake shuts that down. With looks proving nothing, Ms. Palmer brings up child support.
I mean, it's obvious my son looks like you. My son has the same lips, the same eyes. My son has short limbs. I'm tall, obviously, Your Honor.
Yeah.
He even told me that my son is not his son because my son doesn't have good hair.
We know babies come in all shapes, sizes, and colors with all different textures of hair and everything else, and we don't talk about everything about this baby as innocent and good.
She demands a DNA test or child support, his choice. Mr. Ross refuses to pay for a test, saying they should have done it at the hospital. Judge Lake reminds them both they handled things poorly.
Before I even send you any kind of money, you're gonna have to get a DNA test in, because I'm not finna just
He
give you
told
no
me he
money.
was not gonna pay for one.
Because that's
This
the
is our
case, she
next
could have
step.
just told me I was the father when she thought the other guy was, and we wouldn't have to do that. We had to do it at the hospital.
For it.
First thing she told me, she said, "Well, I'm gonna put you on child support. I know how to handle this."
I mean, I do.
You tell
Why
me
should
how
I
it's-
continue to make you or anything like that to take care of your son?
Mr. Ross claims another possible father is his cousin's friend. Ms. Palmer denies cheating, insisting there were only 2 men. None of it matters now. The DNA results are in.
You know, she was messing around with more guys, because the guy she thought was her father, he actually is my cousin friend, and I actually know the guy.
I didn't know they knew each other.
He told me I wasn't.
He didn't tell him
she wasn't
anything
she was
because
cheating on him.
once I got my DNA test, that was it. I was not cheating on him.
And it wasn't with me. He told me, he was like, are you the father of Jessica Child? I said, no. He said, well, I'm not either because I took the DNA test.
Judge Lake reveals the truth.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Ross, you are the father.
Mr. Fisher had no idea he was signing up for an emotional roller coaster. He unknowingly signed Sophia's birth certificate, thinking all was good. A month later, bam, Ms. Doyle admits she cheated, leaving him heartbroken, but still deeply loving Sophia.
Mr. Fisher, you claim you made the biggest mistake of your life by signing the birth certificate for 2-month-old Sophia. You say your fiance dropped a bomb on you just 1 month ago and admitted you may not be her father.
Yes, Your Honor.
Just when you think it can't get worse, Ms. Doyle explains, she confesses but hopes Mr. Fisher is still the dad. She praises him for being the perfect boyfriend, but their relationship is hanging by a thread.
Ms. Doyle?
I think that he is the father. I know 100%. I mean, he was there through the whole pregnancy. He does everything for me. He works, he supports our family, he runs my baths, he cooks my food. He rubs my back and rubs my feet. He's a great father, very loving. He's a very loving father and a very loving fiance.
Their love story started like a fairy tale, but crashed hard. Mr. Fisher recalls falling for Ms. Doyle's beauty and kindness. It was perfect, until the ultimate betrayal shattered everything.
When me and one of her family members met, we became best friends. Like, we was close like this. He took me around her, and I just fell for her. And ever since then, I've loved her. She's beautiful. Her eyes, amazing. Her body, she's gorgeous, and she treats me like a man wanted to be treated, all the way up until this happened.
Things go from bad to, what were you thinking? Ms. Doyle cheats because of a false rumor about Mr. Fisher. Instead of asking, she hooks up with a random guy. Turns out the rumor was a total lie.
I was on vacation with one of his family members in Florida, and another one of his family members that he was with at the time had texted me. He said, Trey's cheating on you, which we call him Trey, but his name is John. Me, I was hurt. A guy walked up to me. Do you want to go to my camper and talk? So go back to his camper with him, and we talked about it, and then one thing led to another. He kissed me, and then we had sex.
Carrying a baby while hiding a massive secret? Yikes. Ms. Doyle panics when she sees the positive test. She lets Mr. Fisher celebrate, pretending everything's fine, while guilt eats her alive.
The day that I found out she was pregnant, she had threw up like 3 or 4 times because she was feeling sick. We purchased the pregnancy tests, went back to the house. She took them. One had a faint line, and then one had both lines. And I was happy. That was the best day of my life.
Mr. Fisher, clueless, decides to propose. Ms. Doyle's inner voice screams, "Tell him!" but she says nothing. She smiles, takes the ring, and the secret stays buried.
I told her, I went to work that day, and I was thinking about proposing to her because I love her. She's my world. I got home that day. I had the ring in my pocket. I told her how I felt. I said, I love you. You're my world. You're everything I've ever wanted. I want to take this family to a whole nother level. Will you marry me? And she said yes.
The best day turns messy. Mr. Fisher cheers Ms. Doyle on, signs the birth certificate, and beams with pride. Meanwhile, she's silently panicking, knowing the truth will come out soon.
When she was giving birth, I held her hand. I felt like I was the dad, which at the time, I kept telling her, push, push. I want to see my baby. And afterwards, I signed the birth certificate and everything because I thought it was my baby. We stayed there for 3 days. Those 3 days were the most important, amazing, wonderful thing that I have ever felt in my life.
Reality hits when Ms. Doyle admits the timeline doesn't add up. A court calendar proves the baby might not be his. Mr. Fisher stares at it in disbelief, and then he does the unexpected.
Sophia was born on January 15th. You took vacation April 21st to May 1st, and that's the window of time in which you cheated.
Yes, Your Honor.
When you calculate it, the window of conception would be between April 19th to April 26th for a child born on January 15th.
Yes, Your Honor.
Instead of walking away, Mr. Fisher says, "I love you and Sophia, no matter what." Ms. Doyle breaks down, knowing she doesn't deserve his kindness. Then, the DNA results arrive.
I'm sorry that it happened, and if she's yours, then I hope that...
Let me tell you this. You ain't got to be guilty about it no more. I know about it, and I know you're sorry. Just don't hold it on me no more. That's my baby no matter what, and you're my wife. I love you.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Fisher, you are the father.
Oh boy, this one is a hot mess. Judge Lake introduces Lima VD, Scott, and Anderson. Ms. Lima claims Mr. Anderson is the father, but he, a married man, says nope, his whole marriage is on the edge, and that thread is snapping fast.
Ms. Lima, you admit to making a huge mistake and hope it doesn't affect your baby Christina. You had an affair with Mr. Anderson, who is married, and believe he's your daughter's father.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Anderson, you say your whole life is on the line and your marriage, and you're hoping you're not the father today.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Lima met Mr. Anderson on Facebook, chatted for a year, then, boom, dinner and hotel. Just like that, things happened. The audience gasps, but oh, this is only the beginning of the chaos.
Your Honor, it all started from a Facebook message when Mr. Anderson was messaging me on Facebook. So we started being friends online for about a year and a half. Then out of the blue one day, he called me and said, let's go out for dinner. So I was like, hey, well, I'm not doing anything, so why not? We went out to dinner and we got a hotel room that night. We had sex.
Your Honor.
Ms. Anderson finds out when she messages Ms. Lima. She asks who she is, and Ms. Lima confidently responds, I'm his girlfriend. Then Ms. Anderson drops the bomb. I'm his wife of 10 years. The audience losing it.
A few minutes later, Miss Anderson, she inboxed me and say, like, who are you? So, said I'm his girlfriend of a year, so who are you? I'm his wife of 10 years,
Really?
Yes. No, I did not know he married. He did not show any signs of marriage or anything.
Was this true?
I'm just sorry, Your Honor. I just want to say I'm sorry to my wife and my family and my kids.
Mr. Anderson gives the worst excuse ever. He cheated because of an argument. Brother, instead of apologizing, he picked cheating. This man needs serious decision-making skills.
Me and my wife, we had a bad, argument. I decided to go out and take Miss Lima out one night. And me and her went out to, the hotel. I brought her roses and, we had sex that night.
Is Miss Lima's assertion that this went on, she told your wife she was your girlfriend for a year?
Well,
that's not one night.
Mr. Anderson swears it was one night, but Ms. Lima laughs. She says it was every weekend for 2 years. Then she describes his house. Ms. Anderson's face, pure rage.
You say this only happened this one night.
It was a one-night stand.
You never saw her again. How often would you see Mr. Anderson?
We've seen each other for 2 years, every weekend, Saturdays and Sundays.
Was it strange to you that you only saw him on Saturdays and Sundays, or you thought he was working during the week?
Not really, because I went to his house numerous of times.
Excuse me. You went to his house numerous times?
Yes.
Just when you think it can't get worse, boom. Ms. Lima says she was with another guy too. No protection. Now we've got another possible baby daddy. The courtroom, a soap opera set.
I went to Mr. Anderson at first. I went to his family at first. I couldn't contact him, so I went to his family and I got rejected by them. So I was like, well, that really hurted me. So I was just like, well, let me move.
So you did sleep with another man during the window of conception during that time?
Correct.
And you were sleeping with both men without protection?
Well, I got in touch with him later, we met up and we had sex again when I was around 4 months pregnant.
Ms. Anderson listens to all of this and looks done. She reminds everyone, 5 kids, 5, and now she's dealing with this mess? I'd be packing my bags immediately.
Once we messaged each other, I asked her for her phone number because I want to talk on the phone. And when she was telling me the things that she was telling me, my whole world it caved in. Like, are you serious? This is my husband.
Because you all have built a lot together.
A business. We've been through a lot, Your Honor. And just the
children?
5.
Now, meet contestant number 2, Mr. Scott. He met Ms. Lima at a gas station, of course, and thought she was his girlfriend. Then he found out about Mr. Anderson. He looks like he wants to disappear.
During the time she was in a sexual relationship with Mr. Anderson, so you could possibly be this child's father.
Well, the situation was when I first met Mrs. Lima, we met at a gas station. Come February, I took her flowers to a job site, took her out to eat on Valentine's Day, and then in March we had a sexual intercourse.
Mr. Scott wasn't sure if the baby was his. He thought she looked like him, but didn't want to get attached. At this point, everyone's just waiting for that DNA test.
Have you met the baby?
Yes, Your Honor.
You have? Do you come visit her regularly?
No.
Why?
Because I have doubt in my mind that she may or may not be mine, Your Honor.
Look at her, do you see a resemblance?
Yes, I do.
Ms. Lima, when you look at your child, do you feel like she looks like one man or the other?
Mr. Anderson has a child that she looks exactly like, the way her eyes is.
You know what his kids look like?
Yes.
It gets worse. Ms. Lima met Mr. Anderson's kids. He brought them along to meet her. Ms. Anderson looks like she's about to throw a chair. And honestly, who could blame her?
He bring the kids around me, when we meet up and when he give me money, he'll bring the kids.
Give her money? Are you serious?
That is not.
That's how you feel?
He bring the kids with them?
Yes. I'm not sure who they thought I was.
That's how you feel? Who is she? They auntie?
That's not.
What are your hopes today, Ms. Lima? Do
really
you want this to be your child father?
Yes.
Or do you want this to be your child?
No, you
my
don't.
Child father. He's more.
You want the baby daddy? might be the baby dad and it's not him.
Judge Lake opens the envelope. BAM.
Is the father of 1-year-old Christina. Mr. Scott, you are not her father.
You just stay right here.
This case had everyone hooked from the start, like a reality show gone wild. Ms. Hawthorne storms in, accusing Mr. Brown of ghosting her after getting her pregnant. Mr. Brown fires back, calling her a liar who's trying to trap him. The way they're arguing, you just know it's about to get messy.
You are here today because you say your high school sweetheart is a smooth-talking deadbeat who got you pregnant 3 years ago and is now denying your baby. Mr. Brown, you say Ms. Hawthorne is a desperate liar who will say and do anything in order to have a family with you. You claim there is no way you could have fathered her child.
Just when things seem calmer, the long-distance drama kicks in. Ms. Hawthorne says they met online in high school, and she was loyal until he started seeing other girls. Mr. Brown shrugs, saying staying faithful from different cities was too hard. Judge Lake's face says it all. That excuse won't work here.
So you went to high school together?
No, we were separate. He's in Chicago and I'm in the suburb. We were dating online. That's how we found out about each other. And
but
so
it was during when you were in high school.
Right, and so we were dating online, but it actually took a year after we started seeing each other because we were young, we didn't have transportation.
So you met online, you lived in 2 different places.
Yeah.
Pure chaos unfolds. Mr. Brown insists they only hooked up once in August 2014. Ms. Hawthorne shuts that down, saying they were together in December 2015 when Chase was conceived. Then he drops the ultimate weak excuse. He didn't finish, so he can't be the dad. The audience erupts and Judge Lake looks ready to lose it.
Your Honor, we only had sex one time, and that was in 2014 in August.
Chase is 2 years old, so clearly it did go on and on past one sexual encounter. So what happened where you all reconnected during the period of time when Chase could have potentially been conceived?
It was in December 9th, 2015.
Mr. Brown flips the script, saying she had a boyfriend and can't be sure Chase is his. Ms. Hawthorne shuts that down, insisting she only had a male roommate. Judge Lake isn't buying it and asks the real question. You lived with a man and nothing happened? Mr. Brown shakes his head in disbelief.
Your Honor, she had a boyfriend at the time.
I did not. Me and this guy, we were roommates. We decided in June of 2015 to move in together.
You're gonna move in with someone and not have sex with them.
Yes.
A male being is not gonna try anything with you to have sex.
Not if he's just a friend. Not if we never had that type of relationship.
Mr. Brown's got excuses for days. Ms. Hawthorne says he's only seen Chase 4 times in 2 years. He claims he felt trapped because she waited 14 weeks to tell him. Judge Lake isn't having it. Sir, you trapped yourself in the backseat of that car. The audience loses it.
Now Chase, 2 years old, you say Mr. Brown hasn't been a part of his life at all.
Not at all. He's only seen him 4 times.
Your Honor, I feel trapped in the situation because first off, you didn't let me know that you was pregnant until 14 weeks later.
So you trapped yourself in the backseat of the car when you really should have come and broke up with her, but instead you decide to have sex with her. When you in simple mode, you get simple results.
Ms. Hawthorne's mom pulls out text receipts. In one, he talks about Christmas presents for Chase. Judge Lake reads them aloud, and the courtroom reacts. So now you're buying gifts for a baby that's not yours? Mr. Brown backpedals, blaming his grandma's advice. His argument crumbles.
You submitted those texts to the court. You write to him and say, I'm afraid that Chase at this point will not have the Christmas he deserved. Things right with your son because he didn't ask to be born. He will have a good Christmas, no worries. I'll just start checking periodically on what he needs and deliver it to him. You think I'm happy about not being able to get him gifts on Christmas? I'm not. It hurts me.
The room is silent. Judge Lake opens the envelope.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Brown, you are not the father.
This courtroom is about to go off the rails, and we're only 5 seconds in. Judge Lake kicks things off with the case of Greer versus Thompson and Tolles. Ms. Greer drops a bomb right away. She cheated on Mr. Thompson on purpose just to get revenge. Now she's standing here confused about who her baby's father is. If that's not messy enough, just wait, because things only get crazier from here.
You are the mother of 1-year-old Lanaya. You say you regret cheating on the defendant, Mr. Thompson, as an act of revenge to hurt him.
This might be the pettiest revenge plan ever. Ms. Greer admits she cheated after she found out Mr. Thompson cheated first. Instead of just walking away like a normal person, she decided, you know what? I'm gonna get even by making my life way more complicated. She hopped on a dating website, met some guy she barely knew, and now here we are, trying to figure out who her baby's dad is. And trust me, the plot is just starting to thicken.
I found out that he cheated on me, and I wanted to get revenge. I met this man on a dating website. I slept with him. I found I was pregnant.
And you didn't use protection even with a man you barely knew?
No, ma'am.
Not only was he there for the birth, but he even let Ms. Greer and the baby move in with him and his family. She admits she had nowhere else to go because of a tough past, so his family took them in. He gave her and the baby a home, food, and support. Basically, everything except peace of mind about whether or not he was actually the dad. And just when you think this man can't be any more committed, social media strikes again.
Your Honor, after she left the hospital, she moved in with me and my family.
Oh, I didn't have no family that who cared about me. I was moved to foster home, so it was like really bad for me.
Facebook drama ruins lives, and here's your proof. One of Ms. Greer's own family members decided to air out her business on Mr. Thompson's page, of all places. They basically said, hey everyone, this baby might not be his. Stay tuned for the next episode of My Life is a Mess. Mr. Thompson was probably just scrolling through his feed, sipping some juice, and then, bam, his entire world flipped upside down. But oh, it gets even worse.
When one of her family members posted it on Facebook about that the baby's not mine, that it can be two other people I guess she was sleeping with.
Wait.
On my page.
On your page? Why would somebody do that in your family, Miss Greer?
They was jealous.
Plot twist. He didn't just help raise the baby. He's been a full-time dad. While Ms. Greer has been staying somewhere else, Mr. Thompson has been taking care of Linnea 24/7. He feeds her, clothes her, and puts her to bed every night. So now, the million-dollar question is, if he's not the dad, then what?
She's been living with me for the last 3 months.
She's been living with you?
Yes.
And where's Miss Greer? She lives with you all too?
No, she lived with my brother and his baby mama and his family.
Just when you thought things couldn't get any messier, another possible dad enters the chat. Meet Mr. Tolles. He met Ms. Greer on a dating site, and let's just say their relationship was straight to the point. She came over, they hooked up, no protection of course, and now he's here, wondering if he's got a surprise kid. Oh, and he didn't know she had a boyfriend. Mess level, maximum.
Let me start from the beginning when I first met her. When I met her on the website, we was talking for a minute that she just want to have. We ended up having sex, she was kissing all over me. I know she had her pants off.
Oh, you thought 2 potential dads was wild? Try 3. Mr. Tolles sees a Facebook post of Ms. Greer hugged up with another dude with the caption, true love. Now, suddenly, we have a possible third father. Ms. Greer swears it's not him, but at this point, does anyone believe her?
I don't know what to believe because she's a supposed lie. She said Mr. Thompson was her boyfriend that I did not know about. Then comes to find out around the time that I was the Thompson in the picture.
Okay, that's my ex-boyfriend, so.
Baby father.
Okay, so you see this picture posted with true love by it.
She insists it has to be either Mr. Thompson or Mr. Tolles. But just when you think this case couldn't get any weirder, Mr. Thompson pulls out some receipts about the baby's conception date.
So there's no way when I read these results, this young man is gonna factor in.
As I was looking at TV one day, I seen that it was an app that can tell when you can flip through the next page and see that I was not in Atlanta, Georgia at that time.
Here's where the math gets real messy. Mr. Thompson did a little detective work and found out the baby was conceived between January 1st and January 9th. Problem? He was out of town that whole time. The courtroom was shook, and now all eyes are on the DNA test results.
Possible dates of conception are January 1st through the 9th of 2012.
I was in.
And you just said you were not in town on January 1st through the 9th. I think it's time for the result.
Time for the moment of truth. Judge Lake reads the DNA results. Everyone in the courtroom holds their breath. Get ready for the biggest shock of the day.
It has been determined by this court that her biological father is Mr. Thompson. Mr. Webb, you are not her father.
Yeah, crazy. You need to go to a mental hospital.
It's not true because me and DeAndre, we were in a relationship. We were high school sweethearts. You know, I was all about him and everything. Everything was good until he started cheating.
So this was your high school sweetheart?
Yes, I lost my virginity to him.
This case is already wild. Ms. Hawthorne calls Mr. Brown a smooth-talking deadbeat, while he's over here saying she's a desperate liar. The courtroom is buzzing with what is even happening vibes. Buckle up, it's going to get messier.
Ms. Hawthorne, you are here today because you say your high school sweetheart, Mr. Brown, is a smooth-talking deadbeat who got you pregnant 3 years ago and is now denying your baby.
It started sweet, but turned into a train wreck. Ms. Hawthorne says Mr. Brown was her high school sweetheart and first love, but then he started cheating. Just when you think it's predictable, there's a sharp left turn.
This baby isn't mine. I desperately believe that she's emotionally attached to me and she desperately wants to have a family with me.
It's not true because me and DeAndre, we were in a relationship. We were high school sweethearts. You know, I was all about him and everything. Everything was good until he started cheating. So I lost my virginity to him.
This drama kicked off with an online high school romance. They chatted for a year before meeting, and now their stories don't even match. The awkwardness is already palpable, and it's only getting started.
We were dating online. That's how we found out about each other.
Oh, so you all met online?
Online after we started seeing each other because we were young, we didn't have transportation.
So you met online, you lived in 2 different places.
Yeah.
And you all were going back and forth.
Yeah.
Until you figured out how to meet up.
Yes.
How long after you met online did you meet up?
A year.
Straight out of a teen drama, Mr. Brown went to break up with her, but ended up in the back seat instead. He's all, it just happened, while Ms. Hawthorne thought it was a reunion. The courtroom's collective what says it all.
We was in the car and we ended up getting into a heated moment and both of us started kissing and ended up having sex in the back seat.
We were talking about getting back together, Your Honor.
You told her this is the last time you're gonna see each other. And you said he was trying to figure out how to fix the relationship.
Yes, that's
so
what we
you have
talked
sex
about.
in the back of this car.
Yes.
Ms. Hawthorne waited a day to tell Mr. Brown about Chase's birth, claiming they weren't on good terms. Judge Lake is like, Dad still deserves to know. Cue the frustration for everyone watching.
When Chase was
Yes.
born, do you notify Mr. Brown?
No. We were not on good speaking terms at the moment.
But this is the father of your child.
Yes.
So speaking terms or not, didn't he deserve to know that the child was about to come into the world?
I notified DeAndre September 24th, so a day right after.
Your Honor, how if the baby is
That don't
born?
make no kind of sense.
Ms. Hawthorne's mom comes in strong, accusing Mr. Brown of neglect. She lists all the ways she supported Chase, while Mr. Brown's been absent. Just when it seems she's said it all, the plot thickens.
Definitely. I believe that he has said it on texts that he has sent, all kinds of proof. He looked just like him. I mean, how can you deny that beautiful baby? I mean, he's gorgeous. To say, no, this is not my child, it's ridiculous. And he's never been there for him. I'm one person can say he's never been there because I do everything for him. I buy his food. I get his milk. I am the father.
The texts are the gotcha moment. Mr. Brown's messages about helping and calling Chase my son make him look guilty. He's backpedaling hard, but things are about to escalate.
You write to him and say, I'm afraid that Chase at this point will not have the Christmas he deserves. Make things right with your son because he didn't ask to be born. He will have a good Christmas, no worries. I'll just start checking periodically on what he needs and deliver it to him. I'm trying my best here. You think I'm happy about not being able to get him gifts on Christmas? I'm not. It hurts me.
The big reveal.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Brown, you are not the father.
This starts wild, and you're not ready. Judge Lake introduces Hannon vs. Dorsey. Phelan Hannon's figuring out if David Dorsey is her dad after her mom dropped this bombshell before she passed. This is messy, and trust me, it gets messier.
Miss Hannon, you grew up believing one man was your father until the age of 13 when he said, I am not your daddy.
Yes, ma'am.
Your mother then told you on her deathbed that another man, the defendant David Dorsey, is your biological father.
If you thought your life was dramatic, think again. At 13, Phelan's dad said, not my problem, kid, when she asked him to a daddy-daughter dance. Processing that as a teen? Rough. And it's about to get even crazier.
Well, I believe David Dorsey is my biological father, but I grew up with my grandparents and my mom. Like you said, I was known for a man named Kimball to be my dad. I called him one day for the daddy-daughter dance. Instead of his response being, yes, I'll be there, it was, your mother's still lying to you, not your dad, you need to go find your real dad.
How cruel.
This feels like a movie, but it's real life. On her deathbed, Phelan's mom confessed David Dorsey was her real dad. She admitted she picked the wrong guy. Imagine hearing that before your mom's final moments. David's reaction? Just wait.
My mom, we would have our heart-to-hearts, when she got sick, because she was sick my whole entire life. She would talk about David. On her deathbed, she told me, I thought I picked the right one for you, but David's your father.
So just before your mother passed, she says to you, I thought I picked the right one for you, but David Dorsey is really your biological father.
Yes, ma'am.
Strangers kept mistaking Phelan for Melanie Dorsey, David's daughter. People even called her by that name, despite the hints she'd never met David or Melanie until now. Their first meeting, not what you'd expect.
After my mom's passing, I moved away. My grandmother got sick, so I came back. I was actually at work, walking down the hall. She was calling me Melanie, walking down the hall. Melanie, do you hear me talking to you? She got all the way close, and I'm like, ma'am, that's not my name. Melanie, but you're talking about Melanie Dorsey, right? And she's like, yeah. I said, I heard it in high school. I look just like a girl. I need to meet her. It's my sister. We need to find out. And the friend that said it, he approached my mom.
David walks in and says, don't know you or your mom. The audience is shook. The judge isn't buying it, and Phelan's got receipts. It's like a soap opera, and she's just getting started.
She's been told that you are her biological father.
Yes, ma'am.
You walked through the doors, you walked right past her, no hug. You didn't even really look at her, acknowledge her.
I acknowledged her. I looked at her.
You don't believe you're her biological father?
Not really, because I don't remember her mother at all.
You don't know her mother?
No.
David's denial is relentless, but Phelan's godmother spills all the tea. She saw David with Phelan's mom back in the day. David denies everything, but the tension is real. Then his daughter enters the scene.
Me and Phelan's mother, Veronica, we work together. Mr. Dorsey, I have seen him come to the job to bring her mom, her baby daddy being David. He still looks the same, but he had just got a little heavier.
Your Honor,
You don't remember any of this?
Your Honor, I've never had sex with this woman.
You worked at the fast food restaurant, though.
Yes, ma'am.
Melody, David's daughter, comes in strong, claiming Phelan as her sister. She's heard the rumors, sees the resemblance, and calls out her dad. It's funny, emotional, and awkward all at once.
You know we are here discussing the paternity as it relates to Ms. Hannon.
Yes, I'm here to claim my sister. That's my sister. I don't mean to disrespect my dad, but my dad was a Rolling Stone. He was the man, and he was very known on the North Side for being David Watkins, the slayer of women. So
Phelan's trying to stay strong, but she just wants closure. David's still in denial, but feels bad for her. The judge is ready for the DNA results, and you'll need to brace yourself for the twist.
Truly, Mr. Dorsey, I can't get much testimony out of you because you honestly don't remember.
No, I don't.
And Ms. Hannon have formed as sisters, you believing and accepting and loving her as a sister.
I don't know about her mother's infidelity. Only thing I know is that Phelan is my sister.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Dorsey, you are not the father.
The case of Webb versus. Cole kicks off with Judge Lake, trying to figure out if Mr. Webb is the dad of Ms. Cole's 6-month-old daughter, Majestic. Mr. Webb swears up and down that he's never even been intimate with Ms. Cole. Meanwhile, Ms. Cole is super confident he's the dad and accuses him of lying to protect his relationship.
Mr. Webb, you and your girlfriend say there's no chance whatsoever that you fathered the defendant's 6-month-old daughter, Majestic. You say your evidence will shock this courtroom. Cole, you and your mother say you're 100% certain that Mr. Webb is your child's biological father and say the only reason he's denying your baby is to save his relationship with the woman he's been with past 3 years.
Ms. Cole says she got pregnant with Majestic on April 11th after sleeping with Mr. Webb, but Mr. Webb fires back, saying they've never been intimate and calling her a liar. The courtroom gets loud as Ms. Cole doubles down and Mr. Webb calls her crazy.
I know for a fact the dates line up, and I know he stayed with me for 2 months, and he slept in my bed with me for one night, and we had sex. April 11th.
We never had sex or anything. We were just friends. We would chill out. That was it. I never stayed in her bedroom. I stayed out on the couch.
That's a lie.
And on top of that, I was only there for a week and a week and a half.
Ms. Cole says Mr. Webb stayed at her house for over a week, and during that time, they were, well, more than just friends. She claims her family took care of him the whole time, but Mr. Webb denies it all, saying he was just crashing on the couch. His girlfriend backs him up, and the courtroom is now a mix of yelling, arguing, and side-eyeing.
I wasn't living there. We were hanging out for a week and a half. Right. And on top of that, April 18th, I had moved back to Detroit. How was I there for 3 months? She had knew about it. We were friends. She trusts me. She knows I'm not like that.
I've known him for 7 years, and he is not like that at all. And you called me, and you called me with his friend telling me that he was there for 3 weeks and you guys were having sex and blah, blah, blah. At first, I did believe that.
He shows texts from Ms. Cole where she admits there's another guy who could be Majestic's dad. But she also says the timing makes Mr. Webb the most likely choice. Mr. Webb isn't having it, though, calling her messages proof that she's unsure and just making stuff up.
This is how this went, the first message. She messaged me saying, hey, I got an ultrasound. I said, okay, can we we leave it at that, Tasha. It's not my baby. I'm trying to do right in my life. Stay out of my life in the inbox. At this point, I'm thinking, I feel like she's trying to say that I'm the baby daddy, but just hinting, not actually saying it. What came next? I told her, I said, I'm not trying to be mean. I just want this to end. Because I'm not a mean person. I'm not a hateful person.
Ms. Cole shows a calendar with dates marked to prove when she and Mr. Webb were together and when she thinks she got pregnant. But there's one little issue. Her timeline overlaps with another guy she was with. The courtroom is buzzing as people try to figure out if this calendar helps her case or just makes it messier.
In red is the date you were intimate with Mr. Webb on the 11th of April.
Yeah.
The window of conception is in blue.
Yeah.
So that's the week prior to the 11th. And then Majestic was born on the 28th of January, correct?
Yes.
When were you intimate with the other guy?
May 15th, 16th.
How do you get those two mixed up? That's over a month. How are you gonna say that you think it's him and then over a month?
The DNA results are in, and guess what?
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Webb, you are not her father.
Yeah, you're crazy. You need to go to a mental hospital.
This case starts wild and gets wilder. Judge Lake introduces Capples versus Harris, where Miss Capples claims Mr. Harris is her 15-month-old son, Jason's dad. Mr. Harris, supported by his girlfriend, denies it and says, "Let me live my life. Buckle up, it's about to get messier."
You say you are 100% certain that the defendant is your 15-month-old son, Jason's biological father, and today he's going to put his name on the dotted line right in front of his girlfriend. You and your girlfriend say there is no way you are Jay's father, and once the results are revealed, you want the plaintiff to leave you alone.
Miss Capples admits they weren't a couple, just hooking up after meeting on Facebook. She even made him her man crush Monday, which is awkward now. No love story here, just a messy timeline bombshell waiting to drop.
Me and Mr. Harris started talking. We used to go to high school together. We're Facebook friends. Mr. Harris, I made him my man crush Monday. He's a good guy, hardworking, good father. We messaged back and forth on Facebook for a while. After that, we exchanged numbers, and after that, we started hanging out, getting up, and it just kind of went from there.
Miss Capples brings out a timeline, claiming her conception dates align with being with Mr. Harris. She's got evidence, but Mr. Harris shrugs, saying, "I don't remember dates." Then it's revealed he doesn't even know her real name.
As you can see, my son Jason was born January 9th, 2016. Me and Mr. Harris were intimate for 9 months, all the way up until May. We started talking around September, Mr. Harris. Like I said, all the way up until the beginning of May. If you go back 9 months, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, it'll bring you to April.
He only knew her as Muffin, which the judge finds shocking. "You didn't know her actual name?" she asks. Mr. Harris's response? Yeah. Cue cringing as we head to the hospital drama.
When we contacted Mr. Harris and told him that Ms. Shatera Caples summons him for a DNA test, he said, "I don't know who you're talking about." I said, "Muffin?"
That is correct. I'm pretty sure I told him my name. Would you remember Shantira or would you remember Muffin? Would I go by around town?
If you having sex for that many months with the same person without using any protection, you gotta at least know their name.
Mr. Harris skipped the birth, claiming work, and later refused to sign the birth certificate because the baby didn't look like him. Miss Capples was furious, and things got worse when we found out who else was there.
When you came up to the hospital to see the baby, did you sign the birth certificate?
No, I did not.
Because you did not want to, or you were not even asked?
Well, I wasn't asked. I had my doubts. I had been had my doubts.
She wasn't even there for the birth.
I was there at
we
work.
did. So what? Were you at work when she went into labor? Probably, but you were at the hospital, right? Does not matter. That might not even be your baby. And what?
Plot twist. His girlfriend worked at the hospital and was on Miss Capples' floor. Miss Capples says she was messy, while the girlfriend insists she was professional. The judge tries to keep order, but chaos reigns.
What is this about the hospital room, Miss Caples?
She was undergoing surgery, getting ready to have my tubes tied.
That is my job.
As a woman, I would not want to be in a room with a woman that's having my boyfriend's baby.
Okay, so you were the patient.
That's a little too much.
But wait a minute, Miss Caples. You work at the hospital. It was where they told you your station or where you were supposed to be. You were assigned to that.
Today, we got our stuff to do. Yes, ma'am.
The results are in.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Harris, you are not the father.
Thank you.
You didn't sleep with no one else.
There you go. We good.
This case kicks off wild right away. Ms. Hummel claims Mr. Pack is the dad of her 8-month-old baby, Lola, but he denies it, blaming his girlfriend, Ms. Fuentas. Determined to prove him wrong, Ms. Hummel insists on a DNA test. Meanwhile, Mr. Pack and Ms. Fuentas just want her out of their lives. Buckle up, because this is only the beginning of the chaos.
You claim you were caught in a love triangle with the defendant and his current girlfriend, which has left him denying he fathered your 8-month-old daughter, Lola, for a DNA test to prove that he is her biological father. You you and your current girlfriend 100% certain you are not Lola's biological father, and when the results prove it, you want Ms. Hummel out of your life for good.
Hold on to your seats as the court delves into Ms. Fuentes' history. Turns out she's been involved with multiple men from the same family, and she's not denying a thing. The drama intensifies as secrets spill and accusations fly, setting the stage for even more chaos.
She has been known to sleep around while in relationships.
Well, Ms. Fuentes, we hate to bring up the past, but you've appeared in this court.
I have.
Before.
Yep.
You've been in this courtroom. In this particular hearing, you pretty much admitted to the fact that you had had sex with several members of the same family.
Yes.
Ms. Fuentes admits to sleeping with her ex during the crucial time frame her baby Anthony might have been conceived. With no protection involved, the courtroom buzzes with disbelief. The paternity mystery deepens, and tensions rise as everyone scrambles to make sense of the messy timeline.
Well, the way I feel about it is if you've seen my other two kids, they look identical. The one with the man that I slept with, my ex. This baby looks nothing like them. He looks like him.
I wish we could go on looks, but we can't in this courtroom. And the truth is, regardless of what you think, it still doesn't mean anything, because the truth is Mr. Pack just stated in court that he is concerned.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Hummel reveals that she and Mr. Pack had been on and off since 2015. When she got pregnant, they broke up because he wouldn't get a job, only for him to move in with Ms. Fuentes 2 days later. She's left pregnant and confused while they argue over who was sleeping where and when.
Your Honor, there is also another 2 guys in the beginning of the relationship before I came that lived in the vicinity where she lived at.
That is wrong. I dated one guy and we had broke up in December and we got back together in January.
That is wrong, because during January to March, we did not have no sexual at all. And the baby is born in November, so that time does not add up.
We were together.
Mr. Pack pulls out a calendar to argue he wasn't with Ms. Hummel during Lola's conception, but she counters, saying he was at her house almost every night. Stories clash, confusion reigns, and the crowd eats up the drama. All eyes are now on the DNA test results to settle the dispute.
He submitted a calendar to the court that outlines why he believes he is not Lola's biological father. So, Mr. Pack, you say that during January, February, and March, you were broken up with Ms. Hummel. You had no sex with her.
Yes, Your Honor.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Pack, you are the father.
I told you.
This case starts wild. A guy named Mr. Jenkins shows up, claiming he's Andrea Bond's long-lost dad. He says he's been looking for her for 24 years, but Andrea's not buying it. Her birth certificate doesn't even list a dad, so she's ready to shut this down.
Mr. Jenkins, you reached out to the court to open a case. You believe that you have a long-lost daughter and hope to one day find her to prove you are her father. So we've located the woman you believe is your daughter, and she's here in court today.
Andrea's story is heartbreaking. Her parents died in a car accident in 1999, leaving her to be raised by relatives. Now she's homeless and raising 2 boys, and the struggle is real. The room shifts big time, and her pain is clear, setting up an emotional case.
He died in a car accident in 1999 with my mother, and I believe that was my father.
You don't have any information?
No information.
No one's ever told you anything?
No one's ever told me anything.
And Mr. Jenkins,
Yes.
You have known about this young woman all her life.
I've been looking for her over 24 years, Your Honor. Me and her mother was in college together. And I'm telling you, she was banging. I mean.
Mr. Jenkins brings out an old ultrasound picture, claiming he was super involved during Andrea's mom's pregnancy. He says he's kept it for 24 years, which is sweet but intense. The court's reactions are split between awe and, wait, is this real?
It's an ultrasound picture that I used to go to the hospital with her.
So when you found out she was pregnant,
I was excited. I said, I got my first child. I got a girl. You know, I was just blown away.
So this is an ultrasound picture of Miss Bond?
Yes.
That you've saved all these years?
Over 24 years, I've been saving that picture right there.
Mr. Jenkins' efforts Andrea isn't holding back, asking why he didn't show up sooner if he cared so much. She questions how hard he actually tried to find her. The tension skyrockets, and Mr. Jenkins struggles to explain.
I used to go over one of your family members' house. I used to come over there every Christmas. I used to go there. It kept me out on the porch. I knocked on doors. I'd like to submit one more thing to the court.
I have a Facebook page. If you went for social media, you could have found me.
I did everything I could do. I've been looking for you over 24 years. That's one of your numbers that I had contacted.
Mr. Jenkins says Andrea's family blocked him out after her mom died. He claims he left his number and kept trying, but Andrea isn't buying it. The truth feels blurry, and the court's on edge.
I lost contact. Like I told you, after people got in her head, took her away from me, I went by there and left my phone number. And Xavier called me. I was excited. I can get my girl, I can see my baby now. I said, well,
You
where
should
are
have
you?
saw me regardless of whether or not she was in another relationship. You shouldn't have let anything get in between you being with her or you seeing me, being around me, raising me.
Mr. Jenkins reveals he's worried about dying without a will after watching Prince's situation. He says he wants to leave everything to Andrea, so he doubled down on finding her. It's a heartfelt moment, but all eyes are on the DNA results.
Not just a while back, you know, music artist Prince had died. He didn't have any estate or nothing to leave any of his stuff to. So the things that I have or the things that I accomplished in life, I like to leave them to my daughter.
And you look at him. Do you see yourself at all? Do you say, I kind of feel like I look like him?
I look more like him to me, in my opinion.
The big reveal.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Jenkins, you are her father.
If you were there when my mother died at the hospital on her deathbed and she told you she wanted you to take care of us, take care of me, whatever, where did you go? Why would you just leave us there? Why did we have to grow up the way that we did? That makes no sense to me.
You just standing there, Mr. Wallace, like you don't have a piece of remorse in the world.
No, ma'am.
You don't have any issues with cheating on your wife?
No, she's not a victim.
She's not?
No.
Oh, fill us in.
She barely cooks. She doesn't clean.
Correction.
Miss Lockridge takes Mr. Tidwell to court, claiming he's not stepping up for their 10-month-old son, King. She's confident, 100% sure he's the dad, and today's DNA test will settle it. But hold on, the drama that follows, you're not ready.
Ms. Lockridge, you've dragged the defendant, Mr. Tidwell, to court because he has refused to acknowledge your 10-month-old son, King. You are 100% sure he's the father and claim today's results will prove your case.
Mr. Tidwell fires back, saying Miss Lockridge doesn't actually believe he's the dad. She just wants him to be. He insists they only had an on and off casual thing for 6 years. Miss Lockridge? She's ready to clap back with some fiery responses.
I think she's more wants me to be the dad than she really believes I'm the dad. She's obsessed with me and she's to make me feel like I'm not the father. She's left town. She's left me with the baby for weeks. She only called me when she had the baby. There was no relationship.
We were on and off for 6 years. We were together for my understanding, how he led me to believe I was single or I was with him in a committed relationship for at least a year.
Things heat up when Miss Lockridge says she told Mr. Tidwell about the baby with an ultrasound photo and a note. His reaction? Confusion, like he'd been handed surprise homework. But trust me, the real mess hasn't even started yet.
She came over to my house. We hung out. The next day, I see a piece of paper on my bed. I grab it, I looked at it. It was a note with an ultrasound in it. I'm not sure the exact words of the note, but it said that she didn't know how to tell me this. So I called her. She didn't answer the phone. She ended up leaving me a text message saying that she was sorry and that she didn't know how to tell me that she was pregnant.
Miss Lockridge insists she wasn't seeing anyone else when King was conceived, only Mr. Tidwell. While she's all about the baby, he's looking like he just walked into a plot twist. The courtroom, nowhere near done with the fireworks.
When we conceived my child, I told him I just had my period a week ago.
That's a lie, Your Honor.
He said, shut up, and we kept going at it for
That's a lie, Your Honor.
You thought that he wanted or didn't mind if he got you pregnant.
I mean, he just got another girl pregnant 4 months prior, and I asked him, what you gonna do about it? He said, if it's mine, then I'm gonna take care of it. So next time I come over, heck yeah, I'm excited.
Enter Mr. Tidwell's mom, Miss Harrington, who accuses Miss Lockridge of being obsessed with her son. She even jokes about a prayer closet dedicated to him. Oh, and she doesn't think King looks like their family. Drama off the charts.
She is very obsessed with my son.
I am not in love with him.
All she talks about is how much she wants to be with him and how she's got a prayer closet at home for him. Well, you know, this is just obsession, really.
Why is it so far-fetched that he could be King's biological father?
Because there was such a long span of time in between. I don't know anything about this young lady, really.
Miss Lockridge says she left King with Mr. Tidwell while working, but he claims she vanished for 2 weeks. And what happened when she returned? Let's just say it's part comedy, part cringe.
She left for 2 weeks.
No.
When I call her
Thursday
to ask her
Tuesday.
when she's coming back, she said she'll be back when she get back. I said, well, then I'm just going to keep him to figure out if he's mine. And all. She
It's called
came
airplane.
within an hour. She was there with
No,
a man
I-
and picked the boy up. Came in, snatched him up, left, and I didn't hear her
Okay.
for a week. And I'm like, where are you going? Who you with? Oh, don't worry about it. Ooh. And she just snatched him up, left most of his stuff, bottles, and just left.
Miss Lockridge whips out King's birth certificate, pointing out that Mr. Tidwell named him and gave him his last name. Her argument? He knew King was his. The tension, sky high as the DNA results approach.
The birth certificate, there's no dad's name on it. That's all I want today. And if my son's name is King Tidwell, he needs the man that named named him King Tidwell to be in his life.
You didn't just pick the name King, you gave him his last name too.
But yeah, he's gonna deny my son?
From your actions.
Denying is not a problem, Your Honor. It's
From
the
your
actions
actions.
of the way she's been acting,
Yes.
the things she do.
You named the child.
I gave her the name that I wanted my son to have.
The results are in.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Tidwell, you are not his father.
Are you kidding me?
Things get messy fast. Mr. Robinson and his wife claim he's not Trevorris's dad and say Ms. Grant tricked him into paying child support. Now they're suing for $124 to fix his license and $1,600 in wages.
You and your wife say you are not the father of the defendant's son, Trevorris, but know who is. You claim she deceived you into believing you were the father to collect child support, and as a result of your inability to pay, your driver's license was suspended and your tax return was taken. Today, you're suing Ms. Grant for $124 for license reinstatement fees and plan to return to court in your home state to fight for $1,685.10 in garnished wages.
Ms. Grant isn't backing down. She shows the court an affidavit where Mr. Robinson said he's the dad. She says he even acted like a dad before doubting it. Mr. Robinson admits signing it but gets sketchy about his proof.
My son never went around them. Yes, Dexter did claim my child because I have proof here where he went to sign papers and everything. He had the opportunity.
What is this paperwork?
That is where he signed and say that is his child, and he states that he would pay $60 a month for his child.
This is an affidavit, an admission of paternity, which is basically an acknowledgement of paternity.
Plot twist. Ms. Grant says Trevorris isn't Mr. Ellis's kid, but Mr. Ellis told Mr. Robinson otherwise. Mr. Robinson believed he was the dad for over 20 years, but one conversation flipped everything upside down.
2 years ago, when this other man approached him and told him that he was the father.
So, Mr. Robinson, at some point after you signed this acknowledgement, someone came up to you and said, I'm Mr. Christian's father?
Yes, Your Honor.
20 years you thought Mr. Christian was your son and you were paying support.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Ellis claims Mr. Robinson started the whole mess, but then it gets wild. He says Ms. Grant once called Trevorris his son, which she denies. Meanwhile, the tension rises, and Trevorris is about to weigh in.
No, that's a lie. He approached me. He came to me and he said, I heard that Martez was your son. I said, well, hey, man, hey, look, I didn't tell you to go up there and sign them papers, so that's on you. You know, I feel he is my son because of his mom approached me and said one.
And I never, Your Honor, I never.
Yes.
Trevorris shares his side, saying his mom left him confused about who his dad was. He felt closer to Mr. Ellis's family, while Mr. Robinson's barely acknowledged him. Judge Lake reminds everyone about the legal affidavit, but the real shocker's coming.
Were you ever told that Mr. Ellis was your father?
I was told that it could be either of the two.
That it could be either of the two?
Yes, ma'am.
And who told you this?
My mom.
Ms. Grant, your son's saying that you honestly told him it could be either of these two men. In your prior testimony, you said you were only sleeping with Mr. Ellis way before Mr. Robinson.
I was telling the truth earlier.
The DNA results are in.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Eddie Ellis, you are not the father.
Buckle up, because this story starts with a mind-blowing twist. Mr. Hinton says he had a fling with the twins' late mom, which led to their birth. After a tragic accident, he lost contact and spent 25 years proving he's their dad. But the twins are like, who even is this guy? Things are about to get messy, so brace yourself for the drama bomb.
Mr. Hinton, you say that a brief affair with the defendant's now deceased mother resulted in their birth. You say you lost touch with the children after a tragic accident and have spent the last 25 years trying to find them and prove you are their father.
This part feels straight out of a soap opera. Mr. Hinton claims he bumped into the twins' mom at a flea market, visited her house, and the little girl Marilyn jumped into his arms like she knew him. But Marilyn's over here saying, no, that never happened. Trust me, the chaos is only just beginning.
I was in Columbus, Ohio at a flea market. Somebody came up and tapped me on the back of my shoulder. I turned around and looked. I didn't recognize her at first. Then she looked at me like, this is Tanya. And then it clicked for me right then and there. So we did our pleasantries and we hugged. So I said, well, why don't you come over tonight? And at the time we was talking, there was kids running around the living room. I mean, just running around. Kids do.
Now it gets popcorn worthy. Marilyn remembers a guy named Mark hanging around when she was little, but she never called him dad. Mr. Hinton says, surprise, I was going by my my middle name Mark. Apparently, there was an army of Emmanuels in Columbus. The reactions to this twist, priceless.
I do remember when I was a little girl and my mom let me go with a man who I called Mark. I didn't even call him Dad. I didn't call him Manny. His name was Mark. He just took an interest in me and my mother just let me go with him. We would and I just remember one day that he just literally came and was like, no, this is the last time I'm going to see you. Probably about a year or so before my mother passed.
Things get crazier with a new plot twist. The court confirms Mr. Hinton's full name is Emmanuel Mark Hinton, but Marilyn insists her family said Renard was her dad. Mr. Hinton claims he was there during her childhood. If you think this is wild, hold on. It's not over.
But Ms. Waddell testified that she got picked up and spent time with a man named Mark. Your name is Emmanuel.
Right. At time in Columbus, Ohio, I don't know what it was a big boom. There's a lot of males that were named Emmanuel. I knew 6 people named Emmanuel myself. So I didn't want these people to keep, everybody in the whole city, keep interfering with me thinking I'm this Emmanuel and I'm this Emmanuel.
Now we hit the emotional part. The twins accuse Mr. Hinton of being MIA after their mom passed, sharing how they grew up in foster care and were separated at 9. Marilyn asks, if you cared so much, why didn't you come back for us? His response, eye-roll worthy.
We're 33 years old. Like, so if you are our father, like, why would you wait all of this time? Me and my twin, we grew up in foster care and we were even separated at 9 years old. Where did you go? I don't understand after 33 years why you just come in all of a sudden and, you find me on Facebook. You say you were looking for me all this time. I've been in the same place.
Get ready for drama overload. Mr. Hinton says he promised their mom he'd take care of the twins, but needed time to get his life together. The twins aren't buying it, asking, where were you for 33 years? The roller coaster isn't stopping here.
He was there at my mother's death. That makes me extremely upset. If you were there when my mother died at the hospital on her deathbed and she told you she wanted you to take care of us, take care of me, whatever, where did you go? Why would you just leave us there? Why did we have to grow up the way that we did? That makes no sense to me. No excuse that he can give me on why he wasn't there, especially when he keeps insinuating that he was there when my mother passed.
This is a classic, are you kidding me moment? Marilyn asks why Mr. Hinton tried to pick her up, but not her twin brother. She's like, what parent picks one kid and leaves the other? Mr. Hinton blames challenges, but the twins aren't convinced. The tension is about to explode.
Why didn't he come back to get both of us 7 months later?
7 months later?
Yeah, why would you just say, I'm coming back to get Marilyn?
Because he was not there.
Okay.
I was there. I'm not going to take one and not take the other.
I'm a single mother. I struggle, but I'm not just going to leave him or just put him in foster care, let him go over, ABC house just because I can't take him. We going to struggle together.
But there wasn't a cycle there, Yana.
This kicks off with some juicy family drama that feels straight out of a TV show. Ms. Webster overhears gossip suggesting her dad might not actually be her dad. Her cousin chimes in saying, you're just like Mr. Ware. Same laugh, same walk. And suddenly, everyone's suspicious.
You recently learned shocking news that Myron Smith, the man you believe to be your dad and who paid child support for you, may not be your biological father. Now you've dragged the defendant, Mr. Ware, to paternity court to prove that he is your father and claim today's results will prove your case.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Webster dives into her baby book, uncovering clues that only fuel her doubts. She finds notes and gifts from Mr. Ware's family, while Mr. Ware admits he dated her mom but thought she wasn't his. Now, she's on a mission to untangle the truth with some spiritual guidance.
I had a baby book for a long time, and I never really started putting things together until the blood type wasn't the same. And I'm looking in the baby book, and there's relatives of Mr. Ware's family that signed in when I was born. They bought gifts. There was an address.
Relatives of Mr. Ware,
yes, Your Honor,
have signed into your baby book when you were born.
Correct, Your Honor.
The plot thickens when Mr. Ware shows up during a church prayer session. Ms. Webster turns around and realizes this could be her dad, but it's as awkward as it is surreal. The moment feels like destiny, or maybe just a bizarre twist of fate.
We went to visit him at his church. I knew who he was, but he didn't know who I was. I just been praying, that I find out who my father is. There's things in my life. I came to the Lord. I went to the altar. They had altar call. I'm praying. And I'm nervous, but I just felt this energy. When I got up, Mr. Ware was standing right behind me. So out of all
And did you know it was Mr. Ware?
When I was down, no, I didn't know who was standing there when I got up.
Tamara Smith enters with major receipts, claiming she knows who the real dad is. She insists Ms. Webster's mom and Mr. Ware were together when Ms. Webster was conceived, clashing with her mom's denial. The drama skyrockets as Ms. Webster's mom steps in to defend her story.
My name is Tamara Smith, and I grew up in the household with Demisha's mother, Miss Webster. Mr. Ware was like a part of our family. I know what Miss Webster may have told him, that he wasn't the father. But I believe in my heart, when Miss Webster left Louisville to move back to Dayton, Ohio, that she left her pregnant.
Mr. Smith, who's been paying child support for years, reveals he was out of state during the conception window. Despite signing papers without a DNA test, he wanted to do the right thing. Now, Ms. Webster's mom has to set the record straight amid mounting tension.
You have been paying child support.
Yes, I have.
But you don't believe you're her biological father.
No, I don't. Miss Webster was born September the 17th, which means that she had to be conceived either late December or January of 76 or late December of 75. I was in the United States Army, stationed in Fort Hood, Texas. Right there, she was born September the 17th. Last time I was home on leave was late November.
The mom testifies, confidently naming Mr. Smith as the dad, until it's revealed she was dating Mr. Ware too. The court hears everyone's version of events, creating a live soap opera moment. Then comes the bombshell. The DNA test results are in.
Keisha was named for my cousin Marika and Mr. Ware. His middle name and Marika's name together, and that's how she got to be.
Of course, Marsha and I, we got together to name her at the time. I do remember that.
You dated through the process. You named her together. But you were sure he was not the father?
Right.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Ware, you are not her father.
This gets messy fast. Like, grab your popcorn. Messy. Mr. Pierce accuses Ms. Koval of tricking him into thinking her baby was his. She admits she cheated, but insists Julian is his, setting the stage for a drama-packed showdown.
You are summoning your ex-fiancée, Ms. Cavell, for a paternity test to prove that her 1-year-old son, Julian, is not your son. You claim Ms. Cavell deceived you into believing you were the father, and it wasn't until Julian was 6 months old when she finally confessed she had cheated and you may not be the father.
Things explode when Mr. Pierce recalls giving Ms. Koval a chance to confess secrets, thinking they were solid. She admitted to cheating, which led to days of guilt-fueled confessions. Just when you think it's done, more chaos unfolds.
When I found out, I just had to call it off. I mean, there's no sense in really trying to go for a marriage because it's not true.
How do you feel when you hear Mr. Pierce say these things, Ms. Cavell?
It really hurts me. I know I made a mistake at one. We were both going through an emotional roller coaster at that time period. I made a mistake one time. I understand that my son looks nothing like him, but he looked to me when I was a baby.
You don't see no color in that baby.
Ms. Koval reveals she cheated after feeling unsupported during a tough time. She says it was a one-time mistake with a coworker, but Mr. Pierce doubts her. The awkward vibes skyrocket as trust hangs by a thread.
When was he born?
May 13th.
Oh, this is here. When you had that moment where you fell short and cheated?
It was in September. I don't remember the exact date. I had just lost a baby.
Early September, middle September?
It was early September.
Did you say the end of August, beginning of September?
Somewhere around.
You cheated right around here.
Mr. Pierce wants both a paternity and lie detector test, saying trust is gone. He can't believe someone he trusted betrayed him. Their future hinges on these test results, and the tension couldn't be higher.
In addition to the DNA test you request today, you're also requesting a lie detector test.
Correct, Your Honor.
We have, in fact, administered that test, and the results will be revealed shortly. You have this beautiful baby. When you look at this child, what are you thinking?
Every time I look at him, it kills me.
The paternity test results are in.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Pierce, you are Julian's father.
Yes! From the get-go, it's chaos. Miss Reed demands a paternity test to prove Mr. Wallace isn't the father of Miss Austin's baby. Plus, she's suing Miss Austin for $5,000, blaming the affair for her financial troubles. Miss Austin fires back, denying she owes Miss Reed anything and insisting Mr. Wallace is her baby's dad. The drama is off the charts, and we're only getting started.
You are demanding that Miss Austin have a paternity test administered on her child, whom she claims was fathered by your estranged husband. You're hoping the DNA test will prove that your husband is not her baby's father. You argue that her affair has left you struggling financially as well.
Buckle up. This is where it gets messy. Miss Reed found out about Miss Austin when she answered Mr. Wallace's phone and heard, "I'm his girlfriend." Shocked, she responded, "No, I'm his fiancé and we just had a baby." Though she initially left him, she later forgave and married him. But Miss Austin's next bombshell keeps the drama rolling.
And I found out about Mrs. Austin. One day I came in from the hospital from having my second child, and Raniel's phone rang, and I just so happened to answer the phone. Mrs. Austin, she said, "I'm Raniel's girlfriend." I said, "Raniel's girlfriend, did you know that Raniel was engaged to me or whatever and just had a baby?" She said, "No." I packed my things and I left with my 2 kids at the time. I went and stayed at my aunt's house.
Miss Austin brings the heat with her unapologetic story. She claims she didn't know about the engagement and only learned of their marriage via Facebook. Instead of apologizing, she blames Miss Reed for not keeping up the house, saying that's why Mr. Wallace strayed. Her confidence is wild, but when Mr. Wallace enters, the drama hits new heights.
I found out on Facebook that Rayelle, Mrs. Reed, was married when she posted a picture up there of their marriage life. That's when I found out. And yes, I did confront Rayelle about the marriage.
So what you're saying actually is that you didn't have any regret or remorse about it because you felt like if she was handling her business, he wouldn't be over talking to you.
Mr. Wallace arrives looking more casual than concerned. He admits to cheating, fathering 3 kids with Miss Reed and possibly one with Miss Austin, citing boredom as his excuse. Judge Lake calls him out for his audacity, while Miss Reed tearfully confronts the mess he's created. Things quickly turn emotional.
You just standing there, Mr. Wallace, like you don't have a piece of remorse in the world. You don't?
No, ma'am.
You don't have any issues with cheating on your wife?
No, she's not a victim.
She's not?
No.
Oh, fill us in.
First off, she wasn't a good wife. She barely cooks. She doesn't clean.
Correction.
Miss Reed's testimony is heartbreaking. She shares how her kids feel neglected now that Miss Austin's baby is in the picture. While upset with both parties, she ultimately blames Mr. Wallace for failing their family. Her only wish? For her kids to have a present, caring father, but there's still the $5,000 lawsuit to address.
I'd rather for it to be his because I feel like ever since Rayelle had other kids on my kids get the short end of the stick. They rarely see their dad. Like when I take them to see him, I have to like leave them with him in order for them to spend time with their father. Before her child even got in the picture, Rayelle was there for my kids for whatever. Like watched them, gave them whatever. But now that Mrs. Austin's child is in the picture, my kids have to suffer. And I feel that it's not right.
The $5,000 lawsuit hits a wall. Judge Lake rules that Miss Austin isn't to blame for the marriage's downfall. That's all on Mr. Wallace. Miss Reed looks frustrated, but the judge calls out everyone's messy behavior, reminding them that children's lives are at stake. And now it's time for the paternity results.
We found out today through testimony and confirmation is that Mr. Wallace actually went after Ms. Austin. Now, in order for you to sue for alienation of affection, you have to prove that this young woman planned to destroy your marriage. I don't see that. It was his free will that started this affair. Are we clear?
Yes, Your Honor.
So for this reason, my judgment is for the defendant.
Here's the moment everyone's been waiting for.
In the case of Reed versus Austin, when it comes to baby Demuriel, Mr. Wallace, you are her father.
Told you, dummy. She looks just like you, dummy.
I don't like condoms, so I don't use condoms.
Exactly, and I want you to know this.
I'm allergic to latex, so I can use non-latex condoms.
Why do people keep saying they're allergic to latex but not allergic to sex?
This woman tried to trap me.
I mean, it's like sex at all. You're right. First brought out the condom, I said, is it a no-latex condom? He told me no. I said, we better off not. No, never mind, I'll just do it anyway.
We went on to the store. Well, while we was going to the store, her friend started to tell me a story. She was like, well, I just want to tell you something. She was like, well, the whole time that you was gone, she was cheating on you.
Her best friend told you
This
that?
is what her best friend told me.
And I only did it because I thought you was cheating on me.
Okay.
So you admit you cheated on him?
I did.
And so your best friend told on you?
Yeah.
Things kick off with Mr. Montgomery, who's all like, Miss Parker tricked me into thinking I was Timothy's dad. But now Miss Parker's flipping the story, saying he's not the father. So he's like, let's do a DNA test. Oh, this is about to get wild.
You say Miss Parker led you to believe that you fathered her 3-month-old son, Timothy Montgomery. You say you were present at the birth, named the baby, signed the birth certificate, but now Miss Parker says you're not the father.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Montgomery is here pouring his heart out like it's some kind of romance movie, insisting he's Timothy's dad. Timothy is his son, and he's not ready to let this go. But just wait until Miss Parker drops her side of the story.
I believe I'm the father because, I loved her. Me and her were together. We were sexually active. Without a shadow of a doubt, I just believe, firmly that this is my son. I was there, through the pregnancy and signed the birth certificate. And what the funny part is,
because
she
I thought
allowed
he
me
was
to name
your
the son after my deceased father.
Miss Parker's story just took a hard left turn as she admits there's another possible dad in the mix. This love triangle just turned into a math problem.
I thought he was the father.
You did?
Yeah, because he looked just like Mark in the ultrasounds.
So during the ultrasounds, you felt like they resembled?
Yeah, they looked just like him, and I believed that he was the father.
Miss Parker's dropping bombshells, admitting she was with both guys at the same time, making paternity a big guessing game. And Miss Parker doesn't seem like she's done spilling the tea.
I had sex with both of them around the same time and the same day.
You're talking about one of these 3D ultrasounds? Is that what you're talking talking about?
Yes.
I know what you're talking about. I had one of those, and I know what you're saying when you look at baby and you pick out features and you say, oh, I think he kind of resembles, but there's no way if you were sleeping with another man during the window of conception.
Mr. Montgomery went all out, basically moving mountains to be with Miss Parker, and the crowd can't believe it. You've got to feel for the guy. This is just the beginning.
I left everything I knew in Cleveland, you know, my family. I had a good paying job that I had, and, you know, left my family, my friends, everything I ever knew behind so I can go down there and be the best father and family man that I could possibly be for her, her kids, and my son.
Yeah.
Miss Parker, meanwhile, says she was kind of fed up with Mr. Lanou, always ignoring her for his Xbox, so she found herself looking for attention. Everyone in the courtroom is shaking their heads by now, wondering where this will lead next.
So talk to me about how you were in a relationship with two different men.
I was with Mark. He was always on Xbox. He wouldn't even have sex with me during the whole pregnancy because he felt weird.
First met, it wasn't even like that. He wasn't even in the picture.
Right here.
You are
he done left.
He pried on my girlfriend when I was
one
with
at
her.
a time.
Now, Mr. Lanou and Mr. Montgomery are throwing shade about who's really supporting the baby financially, and it's messy. The competition between these two just keeps getting more intense.
I have a job.
Where's all this money going?
It's going to him.
No, it's
going
not.
to
I have
him.
not once
Trust and
got
believe,
it.
my son will have what he needs.
Putting diapers on
yeah,
his
because
ass, buying
you snuck
formula,
behind
buying
my back
clothes.
and you bit on my girl, homie.
Before you got pregnant, you ended up with Mr. Lanou, right?
The first time he had left, throughout the whole time,
He had
even
broke up
told
with
him
me.
that we were sleeping together after he came back.
Mr. Montgomery's really been holding back here, but he finally admits he kind of suspected Miss Parker was seeing Mr. Lanou on the side. The truth is creeping closer and closer.
Before Timothy was born, no, I had my suspicions, but I never had, you know, concrete evidence that they was actually sleeping around.
Clearly, Miss Parker, you're sleeping with both men.
Yeah.
At a certain point. You end up in the hospital having your baby. How is it that Mr. Montgomery ends up in the hospital with you?
I didn't know it was a possibility that Lanou would have been the father of Timothy.
You know, get your tissues, because Mr. Montgomery is reliving the happiest moment of his life, and he held Timothy at birth. But Miss Parker's about to come in with some ice-cold reality.
Sitting there, you know, I'm holding him for the first time, you know. I bring him to, you know, her face, you know, so she can see him because she had a C-section. You know, I'm sitting there crying. I even told myself that, you know, when he was born, I was like, I'm not gonna cry. Was I nervous? No, I was excited because the simple fact of the matter, I was told that I was gonna be a, and unlike most men, I was damn proud to hear that I was gonna be a father.
Miss Parker confesses that she waited weeks after Timothy's birth to tell Mr. Montgomery that he might not be the dad, and his reaction says it all. Mr. Lanou is waiting to share his own side of the story, and it's about to get even messier.
I told him, and
3 weeks after he was born.
But this is because during that time, Your Honor, that he had threatened to Timothy.
Your Honor, she
without
told
her
me
knowledge,
this in the bed.
take him to Cleveland.
First time she was able to have sex after the baby was born, she waited until after we were done to sit. You know, I don't think you're the father. I think, you know, Luke's the father. And I'm still laying in the bed with this woman naked.
Mr. Lanou explains how he stayed cool and didn't go to the hospital, even though he knew there'd be a fight if he did. But Timothy's paternity still isn't set in stone, and the drama's not over.
I actually was going to show up to the hospital, but I was for her and that unborn child refused to because I know that it would have caused a disturbance between me and him.
You knew
I didn't have
that you
a
had been
choice.
sleeping with her.
A man always has
Did
a
you
choice.
know is there was a distinct possibility that you could be this
Absolutely,
child's
Your Honor,
father?
and I even
I
previously
told him
on
it
Facebook.
wasn't because I didn't want to believe it.
Miss Parker shocks everyone, admitting she was cheating on Mr. Lanou left and right while they were together, which makes this all feel like a soap opera. But with the DNA results coming up, they're about to get some real answers.
What other fact do you have that support your belief that this child is Mr. Lanou's?
It's just I cheated the whole time I was with Mark. And
But I cheated.
You did cheat.
Okay.
It's also
I
the
did
fact that
cheat
he's
because
tried
you cheated on
conceiving
me.
children to other women who, until he left, could not conceive a child.
The results come out and hit like a sledgehammer.
It has been determined by this court, Mr. Montgomery, you are not the father.
Wow, this story kicks off wild right from the start. Miss Herman is in court to prove that Mr. Houston is the father of her son Corey. But get ready, this tale is only just beginning.
Miss Herman, you are here to prove that Mr. Houston is the biological father of your 2-year-old son Corey. You contend the defendant duped you and was living a double life. Mr. Houston, you claim that you are not the biological father of Miss Herman's son and will clear your name when the results are read.
And just when you thought it couldn't get any crazier, bam! Miss Herman explains how she found out out Mr. Houston was married while she was already pregnant. With her detective skills in full gear, Miss Herman is about to make this courtroom a whole lot more interesting.
I like to call this the investigadget stage. That's what I do. So during the time I was pregnant, I had told Mr. Houston that I was pregnant. He said that he would be there for me and my child. After 2 doctor's appointments, he stopped showing up. So I got a little suspicious. Got my investigation glasses on, you know, and I found out via Facebook that he has a wife and children.
Mr. Houston really doubles down, saying he had no reason to tell her he was married. Like that little fact didn't matter. The judge is already over this eyebrow drama, but trust me, there's way more eyebrow-raising stuff to come.
You know, anything I got going on before I met her wasn't her business. You see what I'm saying? I wasn't curious about the extra stuff. I was more curious about getting to know who she was.
So your marriage and your kids and your wife were all extra things?
No, it wasn't extra at all. It was just something that I didn't communicate with her.
This part is downright awkward as Mr. Houston tries to dodge the question about using protection. But things are about to get a whole lot stickier as Mr. Houston tries to explain himself.
But you didn't use protection when you were sleeping with her.
You did not.
Did you tell
not? Don't lie. He did not use a condom, Your Honor. He did not.
Your Honor.
No, the answer is no. Don't let him lie to you. The answer is no. No, he did not. No.
Mr. Houston's version of their meeting is so casual, it sounds like he's describing grabbing lunch. He claims he was just interested in getting to know her, not aiming for anything serious, like, oh, having a kid. Miss Herman's expression says it all. She's about to spill more details he forgot to mention.
I had a homie that just got married. You know, we were celebrating his marriage, you know. I met her. She seemed like she was out of her comfort zone, you know. She wasn't supposed to be there, you know what I mean? So I approached her. I said, hey, how you doing? You know, we started communicating. She told me her name. I let her know who I was.
He did, Your Honor. Don't let him lie to you. When he do that thing with his eyebrows, he's lying.
And when Miss Herman reveals they were together for a month and a half, the drama level in the room doubles. And just when you think it couldn't get messier, in steps Mr. Houston's wife with her own version of the story.
About a month and a half when I found out I was pregnant, told Cortez that I was pregnant, and he didn't say anything on the other line of that phone. He said, are you for real? I said, yes, I'm for real. Then he promised that he would be there throughout the whole pregnancy, not just 2 doctors.
At what point do you discover that he has a wife? Are you already pregnant?
Yes.
Here comes Mrs. Houston, and she's not here to play nice. But hang on, because these 2 women have even more to say, and Mr. Houston's day is about to go downhill fast.
How did you find out about Miss Herman?
The way I discovered, you know, they were doing whatever was a message came in his phone. When I have the baby, I want to move in with you. I'm looking like, who the hell is this? And what is she talking about? So somebody is trying to get answers, and he like playing dumb, you know, wouldn't tell me the truth about it. So eventually I end up calling the number and I talked to her.
The drama goes off the charts as Mrs. Houston tells everyone she and Miss Herman were pregnant at the same time. But Mr. Houston's about to pull out a deep reason for his actions that'll leave you scratching your head.
You know, he said he's going to be there for me and blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, so you're pregnant. I'm pregnant too. So how does that work? Like,
see, I'm in the business of making babies. You know, I have every reason to extend my bloodline. Let me let you know, you know.
And now, Mr. Houston gives a reason for his actions that's as surprising as it is confusing. The judge isn't having it and tells him making babies isn't the way to heal his loss. But don't worry, Mr. Houston isn't done with his wild excuses just yet.
Exactly.
And you thought by making more children,
I'll be connected with my father.
You will be connecting with your father. At the end of the day, you do have to understand that when you bring children into the world with paternity questions, that's not being a superhero. That's not being the kind of father you say you lost.
Mr. Houston's next excuse is one for the history books, claiming he skipped the condom because he's allergic to latex. The judge looks ready to scream as she tries to get him to own up to his choices.
I don't like condoms, so I don't use condoms.
Exactly, and I want you to know this.
I'm allergic to latex, so I can use non-latex condoms.
Why do people keep saying they're allergic to latex but not allergic to sex?
This woman tried to trap me.
I mean, it's like
sex at all. You're right. First brought out the condom. I said, is it a no-latex condom? He told me no. I said, we better off not. No, never mind. I'll just do it anyway.
And then things heat up even more as Miss Herman accuses Mr. Houston of barely being in Corey's life. Finally, it's time for the DNA results that could blow everything up.
Miss Herman, Mr. Houston testified that he wants to be a dad. Has he been a dad to Corey?
No, he doesn't do anything for Corey at all.
This woman's full of lies today. I don't know why.
Can
you show you a receipt?
I made sure that I had his first pair of shoes. I got him some booties. I did everything that I was supposed to do as far as making sure he had car seats. I did all those things.
This moment right here, it's the jaw dropper everyone was waiting for.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Houston, you are not the father.
Yes. Thank you, Jesus. I ain't got to talk to this man not no more.
Oh, here we go. Things get intense right away. Mr. Razor and Mr. Hunt, who are siblings, decide to sue their parents for a paternity test. But there's way more to this story. Just wait till you hear about the argument that got this whole dad comment loud and clear, and he was left totally mind blown. Things are only getting messier from here as the family drama keeps unfolding.
Yes, I did, Your Honor, but I don't believe my children heard the whole comment.
Emotions are all over the place as Ms. Razor steps up situations to big life moments. Hold tight, because Ms. Ham is about to get grilled for answers next.
I'm 26 years old, okay? This is the only man that I know. How many men do you know sit in a delivery room with their daughter when they're having a baby, okay? For you to make that statement and for him to... Is there something that you need to tell me? Maybe.
Just when you think this family drama is as complicated as it gets, Ms. Ham drops a new bomb. She doesn't actually know who Precious, aka Uncle Tommy, joins in remotely and admits he had a relationship with Ms. Ham back in the day, leaving the siblings even more bewildered. The drama is thick in the air as they all hold their breath, waiting for the DNA test results.
That's just nasty. Wow. That is not my father.
Ms. Ham casually confirms that, yeah, she and Mr. Farmer were involved 26 years ago, which means he could totally be Precious's dad. But Precious is holding back tears as she reveals how desperately she needs the truth about who her dad is, especially since she's getting married soon. And here we are, with the results about to come out. And you know things are going to hit hard.
These are my children, and I'm gonna...
Whoa, this is a wild start. Mr. Haynes drags Miss Manning into court, claiming he's definitely the dad of her daughter Zoe, even though Miss Manning now says, nope, you're not. And just when you think it can't get crazier, they toss even more surprising facts at each other.
Mr. Haynes, you have brought Ms. Manning court today to prove that you are the father of her 4-year-old daughter, Zoe. You say Ms. Manning initially told you that you were Zoe's dad, but now is claiming you are not her father.
It's only getting more confusing here, folks. Miss Manning explains her timeline, claiming that Zoe was conceived after she and Mr. Haynes had already called it quits. Just wait, things are about to get even more. What?
Miss Manning sent me a picture. I thought it was my son at first. It was actually Zoe. Took a picture of my son and I compared it, and that's when she was my child.
And why do you feel you know that for certain?
Zoe was conceived at the end of October and we had already broken up.
It's like watching a ping pong match of parent confusion here. Mr. Haynes remembers Miss Manning saying he was the father, then changing her mind over and over again. And you won't believe the next set of wild mixed messages.
She said I was the father multiple times. Then she also told me I wasn't the father multiple times. So first met when I was getting a tattoo, and it was at residence, and we only dated for a short period of time until she ended the relationship. So I ended up moving on, got with my ex now, my son's mom.
This back and forth is exhausting, even for the judge, but after 4 years of mixed signals, both of them are at their wits' end. And get ready, because another possible dad just popped into the mix.
I had a baby, and it's a possibility she's yours.
And so he said, send me a picture, and that's what you sent. And once he acknowledged that, yes, I believe this is my daughter, what did you say?
I've never told him he was the father, and I've never told him he wasn't the father. It's always been, there's a possibility. And the fact that he's waited 4 years to take a paternity test is what irritates me.
The confusion just keeps snowballing here. When asked if he's been part of Zoe's life, Mr. Haynes says he's tried, but Miss Manning only allowed him to be a friend of the family for Zoe's sake. And now, Mr. Haynes brings a timeline to show he's been trying all along.
Have you tried to be a father at all to Zoe, Mr. Haynes? Have you been a part of her life? She's 4.
I have tried to reach out to her. I have talked to her once, and when I did talk to her, Miss Manning told me not to mention that I was the father. She just told me to keep, I'm a family friend of the family, so.
Keeping up with this timeline is like trying to follow spaghetti noodles. It's all over the place. The judge points out the endless cycle of yes, no, maybe, and everyone's left dizzy. And if you thought it was done, hold on, because Miss Manning's got something to say next.
You submitted a timeline to the court.
March of 2014 is when I received the photo, Zoe, but like I told you guys just previous that I thought it was my son. Then I found out it wasn't.
And you felt like she sent you the picture because she was your child.
Yes.
So you're thinking you are the father.
Yes.
Things get even juicier with the next witness. Mr. Haynes' girlfriend, Ms. Wickwire, his current girlfriend, steps up and backs up Mr. Haynes, saying Miss Manning has repeatedly changed her mind on who the dad is. This story keeps twisting like a soap opera.
First off,
what testimony do you have?
We've been together for 2.5 years. She has repeatedly sent him messages saying that he is the father and isn't the father. She's dragging him through hell, pretty much. When he is the father, he's happy and wants to
I don't
actually try and
understand
take...
how I'm dragging him through hell when it's been, there's a possibility, let's get a DNA test.
Now the judge is practically begging for Miss Manning, to let Mr. Haynes have a chance with Zoe. The stakes are sky high, and everyone's waiting to see how this ends.
So have you encouraged a relationship between Mr. Haynes and Zoe?
No.
And why is that?
I would rather have proof that he is her father instead of them building a relationship and him not being the father.
You really believe it's the man that's on the birth certificate, already acknowledged paternity, but has allowed you to have full custody and doesn't really want to be part of raising her?
Yes.
This is a roller coaster of emotion as both parties share their hopes. Both clearly want the best for Zoe, and it's tough to watch them struggle. We're on the edge here. The final DNA answer is coming.
Do you hope Mr. Haynes is her biological father?
Yes.
So even though your gut says to you, do not think he's the father, what are your hopes, Mr. Haynes?
I just want to find out the truth because it's been almost 4 years of going back and forth that I'm the father. So I just want the proof.
And you want to be her father?
Yes.
It's DNA time, and the result is a jaw dropper.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Haynes, you are not father.
Whoa, this case got messy real fast. Mr. Lester's like, nope, not mine. You had other guys around then. Things already look dicey, and we're just getting started.
Mr. Lester, you say that you and Ms. Moyet were never in a relationship and that she had multiple sex partners during her time of conception, so you are 100% certain that you are not father of baby Nyla.
You won't believe the pettiness in this part. Miss Moyet says Mr. Lester's support so far includes a few diapers and one onesie for a boy. But trust me, these two are just getting warmed up.
Mr. Lester has hardly been involved in Nyla's life. Besides the fact of 3 cases of diapers, a onesie that he bought for her, which was a boy outfit. Other than that, me and my mother have been providing food, milk, and everything and things like that. I also have evidence here showing you food, cribs,
Let me
everything.
see that evidence.
And things took a weird turn when Miss Moyet shared how she planned this pregnancy by showing up at Mr. Lester's house on her special day. The drama was thick in the air, and it was only about to get thicker.
I actually planned this pregnancy. I went over his house the day I was ovulating, and I let him know I'm ovulating. I want to have a baby. We did nothing.
That is not true.
Yeah, we did nothing to prevent Nyla. To make matters even worse, since I've had Nyla.
The tension really hit high gear as the judge dug into their relationship timeline. The judge tells them both that not using protection isn't exactly smart, and oh boy, we can feel where this is going.
What she's saying is you were having unprotected sex with her then, and even since this child's birth, you're still having unprotected sex with her, that you are a possible father.
I understand that, Your Honor.
So do you agree that you had with her during the time when Nyla was conceived?
Yes, I did.
The cringe level spikes when Mr. Lester starts listing all the reasons he thinks he's not the dad. But let's be real, this was barely making his case stronger.
My first doubt, when I first met Miss Moyet, she told me her name was Mia. Come to find out her name was Iris. I left her name in my contents as Mia because she was always missing in action. She told me out of her own mouth she had a boyfriend. She didn't appreciate that I wasn't spending time with her, and that's better than me. And I asked her, well, why you calling me tonight?
The courtroom vibes hit awkward as Mr. Lester claims they always use protection. Miss Moyet fires back, no, we didn't. She looks at the judge like, why would I lie about this? The judge just sighs, clearly over their back and forth, as things start getting even more confusing.
We always had protected sex.
We had protected sex, Your Honor.
Mr. and I have never had protected sex.
Only I know how old I am, and I know what sex leads to. And I just want to point out to you the percentages having babies and how it declines.
Some more research.
Yes.
This part's where Judge Lake hits us with some real talk, and it's actually kind of sweet. It's like she's giving life advice while still knee-deep in all this drama.
Do you hear what he's saying?
Yes, Your Honor.
I know when you say you had the love of an older man, it was filling a void you felt for not having the love of your father. You were saying that. Regardless of what this result is today, I don't want you running around behind him. Do you understand me?
Yes, Your Honor.
You're better than that, and you deserve more than that.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right?
The big moment everyone's been waiting for is here.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Lester, you are Nyla's father.
Yes! Yes!
Ma'am.
Didn't I tell you?
You need to be respectful.
Didn't I tell you?
Oh boy, buckle up because this case starts wild and only gets crazier. With that opening, things are about to get heated and totally messy.
Mr. Dark, you say the defendant is a promiscuous liar who broke your heart 4 years ago, stepping out on your then relationship. You admit to having a one-night stand with her 2 years ago, but are furious Ms. Bailey is now claiming you fathered her 11-month-old son, which you say is impossible. unravel it.
This backstory is like the soap opera you never asked for. You just know that's going to come back around and bite someone later.
We was in a relationship for about 4 years. Everything was okay. Everything was pretty good when I first met her. Some good conversations about establishing us a family and probably having kids. We lived together at that time. I left to go out of town to do some work. Went to Florida to do some work in Florida. While I was going to Florida to do some work, I talked to Miss Bailey about almost every day.
Get ready, because here comes the I cheated because you cheated circus act. And trust me, that's not even the half of it. Things are just warming up.
We went on to the store. Well, while we was going to the store, her friend started to tell me a story. She was like, well, I just want to tell you something. She was like, well, the whole time that you was gone, she was cheating on you.
Her best friend told you
This
that?
is what her best friend told me.
And I only did it because I thought you was cheating on me.
Okay.
So you admit you cheated on him?
I did.
And so your best friend told on you?
Yeah.
This is where it all starts getting wilder, with Mr. Dark basically saying, wait, do the math. Suddenly, we've got more questions than answers, and Mr. Dark's math skills are being put to the test big time.
With the calculation and the date she's using, Mr. Dark, you're saying this would only been 8 months.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
you believe she was already pregnant when you all were intimate in March.
She had to be already pregnant. And so I guess I was just a crutch.
Whatever.
From the beginning, I was there at the hospital when Jameer was born, even with my doubt, because in the back of my mind, I didn't never want to feel like, okay, he really was my son and I didn't do the things that I was supposed to do as a father.
The birth certificate story is a doozy because Mr. Dark says he only signed it because Ms. Bailey pressured him big time. He's now totally regretting that decision, and we're all wondering what this could mean when the DNA results come in.
And the reason why I signed the birth certificate, to answer your question, is because you told me at the hospital that if I didn't sign it right then I wouldn't have another opportunity to sign it. That's what you told me right there at the hospital.
I didn't force you to sign it. You signed it on your own.
If I didn't sign it, what was gonna happen? He won't have your last name. You won't get to sign it. Did you not say that? You know you said that.
I did not tell you that. No, I said, okay, if you don't sign it, okay, that's on you.
If you thought this was a one-time drama, think again. Ms. Bailey's got a history. Now he's wondering if this is a repeat performance, and everyone in the courtroom is starting to question what's really going on here.
Ms. Bailey, have you been in a paternity situation before?
I have, with my ex.
So one of your other children, there was a paternity question surrounding that.
Yes, that he wasn't
the biological father. Do you know who your child's biological father?
Yes, I do.
History is repeating itself in this moment for you.
Oh, and just when you thought this couldn't get any messier, here comes Mr. Dark's current girlfriend with her own opinions. Now, we've got love triangles, timelines, and all sorts of drama flying around the courtroom, just like a daytime TV show.
First, in my personal opinion, I don't feel like the baby looks like him.
So you do not feel like there is a physical resemblance?
No. Well, my due date is November 19th. My conception date is February 24th.
And we're now 1 year later, but what you're saying is that you have a similar due date.
Even though he's got doubts, Mr. Dark says he's been there for Jameer anyway, taking him to family gatherings and giving him some dad time. But even with all this family drama, he's trying to be a responsible guy, and the big DNA test is just around the corner.
Jameer is 11 months old. What has been your relationship?
I was in Jameer's life. I've been a part of his life. I've kept him. I took him to Alabama with me when I went to my granny's funeral last month, and my whole family said that that's not your child.
So when Jameer with you to your family member's funeral.
Yes, ma'am.
The judge doesn't mince words here, laying down some tough truths about legal responsibility. It's a serious moment, and you can see Mr. Dark wondering if he should have brought a calculator to figure this all out sooner.
But Judge, I just it's so much she say I don't want to do for him. I bought him probably like about 15 ones when he first was born and some
Did not
stuff.
buy him nothing.
And I took him to her or whatever, but because of the fact
that was already worn for someone
because
else.
of the fact had gave me these things or whatever,
Okay,
but
so
it was because her baby never won.
Well, let me be clear.
It's finally time for the big reveal, and let's just say, does not disappoint. The DNA results come in, and guess what?
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Dark, you are the father.
This past Father's Day, Memphis, Tennessee saw it in them to award me with Community Father of the Year award. The mayor was there and state representatives was there. So Caden will not fall short on a daddy or a father when it comes down to that.
That is great to hear.
Get ready for some real-life drama that feels like a movie. Judge Lake kicks off Lee v. Lee, where Mr. Lee accuses his wife, Miss Lee, of cheating multiple times and now questions if he's really the dad of their 11-month-old daughter. But if you think this sounds intense already, just wait. Miss Lee's backstory is next, and it's got some wild surprises.
Mr. Lee, you say your wife, Ms. Lee, conceived a child after cheating numerous times during your marriage. Now, you claim your family disowned you because of her infidelity, and now your marriage is on the brink of divorce. You petitioned the court for a DNA DNA test to prove that you are not father of Ms. Lee's 11-month-old daughter, Carolyn Lee.
You won't believe how their love story starts, like a mix of romance and reality TV. Miss Lee says they met at a hotel party and felt instant sparks, totally falling for each other right away. Sounds sweet, right? Well, things take a left turn as soon as a Bon Jovi lookalike enters the picture.
I was actually getting ready to go on a date with somebody, and I got a phone call from a friend of mine to come to this hotel party to meet somebody else that actually wasn't even Mr. Lee. And I get there and our eyes met, started talking that night. I heard him speaking a little bit of Spanish, and we started making out the whole night. We kissed heavily. The next morning, we exchanged numbers that night as well because we made out the whole night, didn't even remember each other's names.
So, just 1 week after this love at first sight moment, things get, interesting. But believe it or not, this Bon Jovi moment was just the beginning. Soon, Mr. Lee's whole family gets involved in the chaos.
She stayed there with me for a few days, and then, like, the following week, she started cheating on me with a guy she claimed that looked like Bon Jovi. She has...
The following week?
Yeah, well, she said he looked like Bon Jovi. I said he looks more like the Wolfman.
I have a celebrity
week
obsession.
later?
Yes, I have a celebrity obsession in this guy he looked like Bon Jovi. He's just jealous.
Just when you think things can't get crazier, they totally do. Mr. Lee's family can't believe he's still with her, so they end up disowning him for choosing her over them. And then, just when things seem complicated enough, the couple finds out they're going to have a baby.
I got a little pissed off because, I mean, at the time, you know, my family disowned me. I had no friends.
Why did your family disown you?
Because she cheated on me and I chose her over them, and they didn't like that.
Her anymore?
Yes. And I didn't do what they wanted, so they threw me out.
Just because you went back to somebody, they threw you out?
It's messed up, I know, but...
He was spending
all right.
If you thought pregnancy would calm things down, think again. It just makes things even messier. He's torn between his love for her and the nagging question in his mind. Is this baby even his? But don't think he's ready to give up yet.
When you find out she's pregnant, do you believe the child is yours?
Yeah, at first, she's my wife. Wouldn't, I mean, if you were in my shoes, wouldn't you believe that?
I don't know.
I mean... Yeah, I get it.
I'm not going to sit up here and lie.
I mean, she cheated on me before, but I figured why not stick around?
Things had gotten a little better.
Yeah, things
So you felt like trust?
I felt like I could trust her. I felt like that this was my kid.
At this point, you've got to wonder how Mr. Lee has stayed so committed. It's clear he's been through a lot and has high hopes, but this test is going to be the real game changer.
I do love her. I mean, I realize people have problems. People do things that they're not proud of. I mean, who among us has not?
Now you stand here after saying you love her and you don't leave her, but now you're saying you're going to divorce her.
The love's still there. We just, if baby's
We're
not
going
his,
through the
can't
motions.
Stay together.
We've decided that the baby isn't mine. We're just not going to stay together.
This part is like a soap opera. Mr. Lee talks about being there when Carolyn was born and signing her birth certificate, saying he's been trying to be a father and a husband through it all. You can feel the tension as he says he doesn't want to live a lie, but it's only going to get more emotional when Miss Lee's mom steps in.
Take your time.
I was there when she was born. I signed the birth certificate, everything.
So you signed the birth certificate?
I just don't want to live a lie. I want to know if this is my daughter or not.
If he is not Carolyn's biological father, do you know who is?
No, Your Honor.
If things weren't complicated enough, Miss Lee's mom joins in with her own twist on the story. But hey, no one knows for sure yet, and the truth is still to come.
She never saw really any happiness in my household. I feel bad for that. I was not a great mother to her, but she got kind of taken by my mother and my stepfather. They had her most of the time. But she did not see good things going on in the household. She saw a lot of fighting, and so she got into the dishonesty herself, lived what she saw.
Here it is, the big moment that's been building up this whole time. Judge Lake reads the DNA results, and
it has been determined by this court. Mr. Lee, you are Carolyn's father.
Yes, I told you. I told you.
Mr. Miles shows up in court claiming he's the father of his 37-year-old daughter, Christine, who he hasn't seen in over 2 decades. Just wait until Christine hits him with her first question.
Mr. Miles, you are in court today to prove to your 37-year-old daughter, Christine, that you are her father. You admit you initially denied paternity when she was a baby, but are here to right your wrong. But she now wants to prove you are not her biological father.
Things get messier than a bowl of spaghetti when Christine lays out her doubts. He says he's trying to make things right now, but Christine's not letting him off that easy. Next up, he tries to explain what happened way back when.
I don't believe you're my father. My mom says you are not my father. You've been absent for 37 years. Wow.
Why? Why now?
Your mom said that I was your father. Why she changed her story, I have no idea. But that's not the truth. And why now I had the opportunity to be able to look for you because I wanted to see who you are and who your family was.
If this backstory had a theme song, it would definitely be a country breakup song. He only found out he owed child support much later, which leads Christine to question where he's been all these years. Spoiler alert, he's got more excuses.
I didn't know about the child support at that time. I was just named as a father.
You were named the legal father, then makes you responsible for child support. You're just out there, you're dating a young woman, you love her, you all get together, then you break up. You were never informed. When she found out she was pregnant, she never called you to say, I'm pregnant.
No, Judge.
Now Christine starts sharing her side, and it's honestly a tough listen. Just when you think the emotions can't get any heavier, Christine reveals a twist about those child support payments.
I was really bad as a student. I got in a lot of trouble. I went to foster care 4 years. I went through lots of therapy to forget all this, and I'm back today.
But you're strong, and you're not alone, because we're here with you.
Thank you.
And so this was very difficult for you.
Very difficult.
And here comes the plot twist no one saw coming. Surprise, Mr. Miles owes a mountain of child support. He says he got the shock of his life when he found out he owed $28,000 in back payments, right there on his tax return. Next up, she spills about the one time she actually met Mr. Miles.
In 1992, we filed our taxes. Taxes came back, and there's a letter, $28,000 in back child support. And that just shocked me. Like I said, I just didn't have a clue that was even there.
And you didn't try to find out then?
I did.
What did you do to try to find her, Mr. Miles?
Back then, there was no internet, no cell phones. All you had was people that you knew and telephone lines.
Imagine meeting your maybe dad for one night, and then crickets. Mr. Miles remembers it differently, saying he thought he invited her to live with him, but clearly they're not on the same page. And just when it seems like things might calm down, the judge brings out a bombshell from Christine's mom.
Well, I met Mr. Miles one time when I was 16. He came to my grandparents' house. My grandparents actually let me go stay the night with him and his wife. I was never told about them until that very day.
I thought we did, hit it off pretty good. I think I asked her if she wanted to come live with us, if that was something that was going to be
willing to take her in as ours.
Right when you think you've heard it all, Christine's mom drops a statement that changes everything. Mr. Miles doesn't seem to care, though. He's convinced they have a bond. Just wait till you hear what Christine says about reconnecting with him now.
Because when we were in the court, she said I was the father. So after that, I assumed she would tell her that I was the father because that's what happened in court.
Why would she name her after his mother? Why would she go after him for child support?
He said he wanted to play dad.
Yeah, I wasn't even with her then.
That's what she
He was
said.
never with her.
Yeah.
He is still yet to contact her mother since that.
Here's the moment everyone's been waiting for, and it's like the air gets sucked out of the room. The judge reads the DNA results, and the truth is,
it has been determined by this court. Mr. Miles, you are not the father.
buckle up, everyone. This one's gonna be wild. Miss Collins is here to prove that Mr. Stone is her daughter, Tamara's dad, saying he bailed when he heard she was pregnant. Things are already heating up, and we're just getting started.
Miss Collins, you have dragged the defendant to court to prove he is the biological father of your 4-year-old daughter, Samara. You say one day of bliss became a lifetime of hell when Mr. Stone up and disappeared when you revealed to him you were pregnant.
Miss Collins spills the tea on how she met Mr. This is where the plot twist kicks in. Now she's pregnant, and she's got to let Mr. Stone know he might be the dad.
Me and Mr. Stone met on a dating site. I seen his profile. I thought he was kind of handsome, and obviously he thought I was cute as well because he messaged me back. So we had a few conversations until one day we decided that we will meet up. We were drinking. Well, why don't you just stay the night? You know, you've been drinking anyway. Why don't you just, crash here? So later on that night, one thing led to another, and we had sex.
Miss Collins remembers calling up Mr. Stone, all like, hey, I'm pregnant, and this could be yours. This mix-up only makes the whole situation messier, and they're both sticking to their stories.
I went to a doctor. This was at, I think, the beginning of June. The doctor told me I was about a month long. So I'm like, okay. So after that, I give Mr. Stone a call. I let him know. I said, hey, I'm pregnant, and there's a possibility that you might be the father.
She never said possibility.
Yes, I did. I told him I was pregnant, and it might be a possibility that the baby would be his.
Miss Collins says she tried to stay in contact, but Mr. Stone up and moved to Arizona and went off the grid. They both look at each other like, seriously? The mystery of who ghosted who is on, and now everyone's got questions.
Man, so she gave me the call. I was in Arizona. She's like, well, the person I thought that was the father of the baby
is not. And then she said, you know, the other person that might have been a possibility to be the father also is not.
2 additional people besides you.
Besides me.
No, I didn't, Your Honor.
Mr. Stone shows up with evidence saying he tried to do DNA tests several times. And guess who didn't show? Miss Collins says she either didn't know or had stuff going on. And now Mr. Stone's got trust issues. It's a classic game of he said, she said. And at this point, they're still pointing fingers.
I get a phone call from the court where she lives at. We show up, can't do the test for whatever reason. They say that they'll be in touch. Well, I go back a second time. I drove all the way up there. Guess who didn't show? Miss Collins did not show. She suggested that we do a at-home DNA test. So I was like, you know, I don't really trust that. I don't know if that's not a doctor, you know, but she said, I mean, I'll pay for it. I said, okay.
Miss Collins throws in a curveball. Her daughter Kimara has hypoglycemia, which she claims runs in Mr. Stone's family. The health stuff is only adding to the chaos here, and both are still looking for answers.
A few years back, my daughter, she got sick. Come to find out she's hypoglycemic. Now, that does not run on my side of the family. So what I do, I'll give Mr. Stone a phone call, and he says, yes, I do believe that do run in my family.
Anybody could have hypoglycemia. I'm not the only person on this earth. I'm sure there's a whole lot of us. It doesn't run in my family. Maybe the other guy runs in his family. I don't know.
Dr. Brown Parks swoops in to clear things up on hypoglycemia, saying it could actually be genetic. The doc gives her medical opinion, and everyone's waiting on the DNA test to see who's got it right.
So first off, hypoglycemia is simply low blood sugar. It can happen for a variety of reasons. There's a level at which we just have chosen that below 50 milligrams per deciliter when they take your blood. Most common cause is from people who are diabetic or hyperglycemic. It drops their blood sugar too low. It is indeed.
Judge Lake finally opens the DNA envelope, and surprise!
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Stone, you are the father.
Right from the start, the drama is real, and you can just feel that this one's gonna be intense. Let's just say he's got a lot of doubts, and he's ready to get some answers.
Mr.
Here, buckle up, because they just did. Ms. Nadeau gets a major reality check as she recalls the shock of learning her first child was actually fathered by Mr. Zara's best friend. The audience gasps hanging out, though he admits it wasn't exactly steamy. So yeah, the witness doesn't exactly have the smoking gun, but he's dead. Here comes Mr. McCaffrey, and he's not shy about spilling the details. Crowd's in shock, and it's clear this love triangle, or square, is getting harder and harder to keep track of.
You hear this testimony?
Yes.
You admit you were intimate with Ms. Nadeau?
Yes.
If you don't let him testify for himself.
Just when you thought you'd heard it all, Judge Lake pulls up the weather report. With snow confirmed, everyone's looking back to the real. Here it is, the big moment everyone's been waiting for.
It has been determined by this court that her father is Mr. Zara.
You want to tell everybody how sorry you are?
This is one crazy situation right off the bat. Ms. McGowan tells the court how, just after her husband passed away, she met Mr. Martin online. But get ready, because this story only gets messier.
Ms. McGowan, you say after the death of your husband, you were trying to find your way, but ended up finding a man on the internet, had sex with him, and 2 weeks later, you discovered that you're pregnant. Now you claim the defendant, Mr. Martin, is without a doubt the biological father of your 8-month-old baby, Caden.
And just like that, Mr. Martin fires back with some seriously shady doubts. But wait till you hear why he thinks he's off the hook.
Mr. Martin, you say there's no way you're biological father, and you claim to have a mile-long list of doubts that will clear your name today in court. One main reason is that you believe the man she's currently living with, who will join us shortly, is baby Caden's biological father.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Martin then proudly admits he hasn't done a single thing for Caden because in his mind, it's not his problem. And just when you think Mr. Martin might start acting responsible, he doubles down.
Mr. Martin,
yes,
you've done nothing for the child?
No, I did nothing. Because some fact, first night we had sex. The first day we met each other, we had sex. The reason why I don't believe it, this is my child, because she's very promiscuous. And when you have sex with a woman first day, that's red flag anyway.
Did you use protection?
No,
No,
Now this is just some wild math Mr. Martin is doing to dodge responsibility. And just when you think he'll finally take the hint, here comes Ms. McGowan with some big proof.
After it happens, and then there's a baby on the way, how you can doubt.
Because there was other men involved. Out of one of the potential men, others.
Okay.
So therefore, I cannot be that one. You know what I'm saying?
What math are you doing? How do you exclude yourself from the number of men that could potentially be her child's father?
She had sex with another guy.
Oh my God.
If things weren't messy enough, Ms. McGowan brings out her own evidence with a calendar to back up her claim. But as if on cue, Mr. Brody himself steps up next, ready to share his side of the story.
Yes, I have the
that you were
calendar of
intimate.
the date.
You do. So you presented a calendar that outlines the date you were intimate with Mr. Martin.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's April 2nd.
Yes, ma'am.
So you're intimate with Mr. Martin on the 2nd. The doctor tells you your conception date is estimated at April 3rd.
And here's where things get even juicier. Mr. Brody jumps in and says he's actually been playing the dad role this whole time. This guy isn't holding back, and it's about to get even more emotional.
I've been there. Tina and I, Miss McGowan and I have been messing around since February. I just pray that he's mine. I really do. Because when he was born, he looked like me. He was a little light-skinned red baby. He had my cow licks and everything. In the NIC unit, when they took him from his mother when he stopped breathing.
Mr. Brody isn't just a maybe dad. He's been fully committed to the role, and it shows. But the stakes get higher as Judge Lake gets ready to address the whole messy love triangle.
This past Father's Day, Memphis, Tennessee saw it in them to award me with Community Father of the Year award. The mayor was there and state representatives was there. So Caden will not fall short on a daddy or a father when it comes down to that.
That is great to hear.
Here it is, the moment of truth that flips everything on its head.
It has been determined by this court. His biological father is Mr. Martin.
That's what's up. That's what's up. That's what's up.
Oh man, this is just the start, and it's already pretty wild. And let me tell you, things are about to get even weirder.
Ms. Morris, you've petitioned the court for a DNA test to prove that the defendant is the father of your 1-month-old son, Jackson. You hope these results will save your family because you have 2 other kids together.
Okay, this is just bonkers. Mr. Byram talks about how he found out about Ms. Morris's little secret rendezvous with his own friend, no less. Yep, hiding in the attic. You won't believe the timeline of how long this has been going on.
Me and the dude she cheated on me with were hanging out the night before. We're really close friends. We stayed up all night, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. I wake up probably 7 o'clock. He's already gone. She fought with me the night before so she can leave and stay at her grandma's house. She was over there with the kids. I seen him on the couch. That's when I started banging on the doors and the windows. I go in the house. He's hiding up in the attic of her grandma's house.
You think it couldn't get any messier? Think again. Ms. Morris says she was already being accused of cheating anyway, but what she reveals next about her dates will leave you laughing and cringing.
We were having trouble way before I even slept with his friends. He's always constantly telling me I'm cheating. It's been happening for 4 years now.
He keeps accusing you, so you just go ahead and validate the accusation?
Well, we split up for a month, and he was living down the street at his friend's, and he was dating a different girl, and I was staying in the house with the guy, the other potential father.
The timeline on these hookups is all kinds of messy. And yeah, just when you think that's wild enough, the details keep coming.
You say you are certain he's the father of Jackson. When did you sleep with him?
September 27th.
She could have slept with him the same day.
I slept with him on September 25th. That's why we're here today for the result.
Oh, so you slept with the other guy September 25th?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yep, things keep getting complicated. Ms. Morris says she's been in contact with the other guy's mom, wants to be in Jackson's life if he's her grandson. But of course, Mr. Byram is not too thrilled. And his reaction to this? Classic.
Did you tell the other guy, Ms. Morris, that he could be the father as well?
Yes, Your Honor.
She's still talking to his mom about it.
No.
Sending his mom pictures of the baby.
So when the baby was first born, I sent her pictures of the baby because she was asking me how much he was. No, I did not.
Yeah, you did.
About how much, not an everyday thing. It only happened twice.
Tension in their home is so thick you could spread it on toast. Ms. Morris can see this, and things get even stranger after this.
Yes, he does. He shows my other 2 way more attention than he shows him.
Do you blame me?
You do admit you're having a hard time bonding with Jackson because you don't know.
I still buy him clothes, toys, and do whatever for him, but I keep my distance from him because I don't know if he's my son.
Here, Mr. Byram's doubts are loud and clear. And Ms. Morris? Oh, she's about to spill the tea on some major regrets.
You helped her out the entire time? You came when the baby was born?
I was there.
I
held the baby first.
Did you sign the birth certificate?
No, I did not. I just kept looking at him and thinking about what she did to me, and I just can't treat him the same as my other kids because I know for a fact that those other babies are mine, and I love them to death. I just can't love him full on, love him until I know that he is my flesh and blood. I just can't. Never.
It's apology time, and Ms. Morris really starts to feel it. But Mr. Byram's response? Just wait. It's not what you'd expect.
I can see behind your eyes a lot of sadness.
Yes, Your Honor.
You know you've made a mistake.
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you regret the mistake you made?
I regret cheating, but I don't regret my son. I mean, I would never regret a kid regardless of what happened. But I do regret cheating.
You do?
Yes.
This is it, the big moment. And whoa, the truth is wild.
It has been determined by Mr. Byram. You are the father.
Yes. Yes.